Hello, my spiritual amigos. We have a very fascinating week coming up. Pluto will drop to 0. Mars crashes into Uranus, and an emotional tidal wave is heading for you soon. Oh, by the way, I also have some good news. All that and more in Namaste Today Live. It's Friday. Welcome to Namaste Today Live. I'm your host, psychic astrologer, Sensei Christopher Witecki, your cosmic guide to personal ascension, love, light, and joy in your life. Not just joy, but serious joy. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X.com, and Instagram. And if you're in our super chat, please tell us where you're coming from and what your astrology sign is. We'd love to say hello to you. Let's say hello to some of our community members. Hello, Nitu. It's been a while, I think. Or I haven't seen you up on here. Shiva, hello. Virginia Parker, it's so nice to meet you. Nikki Anderson, always a pleasure. Erica, it wouldn't be a Friday without you. Neptune girl, hello. Carol, hello. Diana Boss, I think, is that like Diana Ross? Kat Ryder, hello. And Michelle Camper, a happy camper at that. I happen to know that. Hello to Winnipeg. Yay, good to see you all. Hello, Carol. Hi. We have a powerful week, friends. In fact, I think we're about to go through some shift. I'm not kidding. Buckle your seatbelt. Energy is going to be intense. This week in astrology, Mars is going to crash into Uranus. That's going to catapult manifestations in Taurus and probably some major changes that we all were not expecting. On Wednesday, Pluto will drop to 0. That means a grandmaster boundaries will be dropped. That means things will change that can maybe not be unchanged. And on Thursday, emotional tidal waves will shape world history as the sun sextiles Uranus, all heading for a grandmaster full moon in Capricorn at 29 degrees this upcoming Sunday. And later tonight on ASTRO MINGLE, inspiring you podcaster, intuitive empath, and former TV producer turned healer, Henri Hebert is here to talk about the tools she's discovered on her journey to healing and some secrets to PTSD. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your Zodiac weather. The Zodiac weather is from Saturday, July 13th to Friday, July 19th, 2024. Looking ahead at the weekend forecast, over the weekend you're going to open up to new ideas and have some inspiration or breakthrough. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and breezy. Step 21 means it's starting to get fun. Jupiter rules the day, and so you are ready to expand your belief about what the future can hold. You are going to feel some relief over this, and something new is going to open up in your life. With the moon in Libra, you're feeling a different relationship to the future. On Sunday, it's partly cloudy, yet rational. Step 22 means Uranus rules the day. Expect the unexpected. You are feeling divine shifting going on in the universe, but your thinking comes into alignment, and this is why you can rationalize what's happening. With the moon in Scorpio, you can draw an emotional line and feel emotionally safe. Looking ahead at the week, the 5-day moodcast from Monday to Friday. Over the course of this week, you're going to see a new vision for how you want to feel about the future, and by Friday, you'll be taking some action. On Monday, it's sunny and guarded. Step 23 means Mercury rules the day. You are feeling very clear. I feel clarity. Remaining emotionally agile. But with the sun squaring Chiron, there's a lesson to be learned, and with Mars conjoining Uranus, things are about to manifest very quickly. With the moon in Scorpio, you're also realizing you're going to have to change to accept all this change. On Tuesday, it's sunny and safe. Step 24 indicates Venus rules the day. That means it's a creative, resting, and receiving day. I feel accepted on this day. You're going to feel more at ease. This allows you to turn to your heart's truest desires. The moon moves into Scorpio at the high degrees, saying, hey, I'm ready to transform my life. And then moon moves into Sagittarius, meaning that you emotionally feel the story is indeed changing. On Wednesday, it's partly cloudy, yet inspired. Step 25 means Neptune is ruling the day. So you are connected to your higher self, spirit, and God universe. You are feeling your fate as a result and facing any emotional doubts about receiving that fate and making it happen. And funny enough, as soon as you realize that fate, Pluto retrogrades to 0 Aquarius, which means that fate is sealed. On Thursday, it's sunny and bountiful. Step 26 means Saturn rules the day. We're feeling large and in charge and feeling devoted to the future. You're going to sharpen your vision and therefore the vision of the future will change the future. The moon's in Sagittarius, so the universe is listening. The moon crossed the galactic center, which means galactic center and the Milky Way is listening. And with the sun sextiling Uranus, you are coordinating how you want to feel with what you want to make. And Mercury trining Chiron, you're now on top of how this is a healing moment for you in your vision. So it is a bountiful day for spiritual change. And then on Friday, it's sunny and preserved. Step 27 means Mars rules the day. You are ready now to move forward. You are feeling engaged in this new vision and opening up to new wild frontiers. But with Venus trining the North Node in Aries, it's now time to become the new you as what's necessary to make it happen. And a galactic yod with the moon crossing the galactic center means the universe is listening.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
Please be kind and do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Serious Joy TV. Hit the bell button so you're notified. And if you don't mind, please like this video right now so the YouTube algorithm will suggest us to other astrology enthusiasts. Tonight, Namaste Today Live is sponsored by the new SeriousJoy.com. We have remodeled ourselves. I don't know if you've stopped by yet. I'll give you a little preview of the site when we get to the end of the show. But we also are on countdown for what we call the 40 Days of Self-Love and Ascension. This is our most popular program. It begins on July 22nd. If you carry a heartfelt intention for 40 straight days, especially this year, given the astrology that's going on, you have the potential for unlimited potential of manifestation. Unlimited. And I've seen all sorts of things happen during this time. People finding soulmates, people finding their purpose, people finding houses that they're looking for or getting the sale to the house, because it has to do with aligning the heart in all of your states of awareness into what I call the United States of Awareness. And the 40 Days of Self-Love is the most powerful time of the year to launch anything your heart desires. For those of you who are looking for love, and this is the summer of love, this is the ramp up to that summer of love. This is it, the 40 days. So if nothing else, give us a try at SeriousJoy.com for just $3.99. And you can start with us on July 22nd for 40 days of Serious Joy, our self-love and our ascension. Our whole team is involved in this project. We'll talk more about it at the end. So without further ado, let's move on to our planets and transits. Hola, amigos. I don't know why I'm in the Spanish kick tonight. I'm feeling my past lives down in the southern part of the country and the world. I don't know. I've been feeling a lot. God, the energy in Cancer has been really intense. I mean, this last week I felt, and I don't know, I have a sun in the 12th house. I mean, Cancer is my 12th house. So it stirs up a lot of shit from the bottom of the tank, basically, for me. And I'm like, what is this? Why am I rare? I'm just like super aggro, angry Sensei. Or also just spaced out, can't focus, you know, where's my keys? And they're in my hand, that type of thing. It's been cosmic, it's been strange that way. But I understand what's going on. And let's catch you up if you haven't been watching us. Welcome. If you just found us, welcome to the spiritual family. We are here to ascend together. This is a magical moment really in world history. And it may not look like it. I know things look pretty bad, but that's because God universe has the intention of things being good. That's why. The universe is wanting things to be good. We actually have a lot of healing forces happening right now on the planet. And when you have healing forces being pushed in by cosmic energy, and by the way, healing forces are higher vibrations such as love, creativity, excitement, joy, serious joy, births, sex, you know, people, that's creation energy in this rawest, most root chakra form. When that starts pounding, like energy starts vibrating, going higher, then everything that's heavier starts to become even heavier. Okay. Especially if we can't let go of that heavy thing. And we don't realize it, but we are emotionally addicted as a culture to drama. It's not necessarily our fault. I mean, we are susceptible to it as a human race. We like pleasure. And if you give me more pleasure, that's great, right? Well, when your life is boring, you're just watching the grass grow, then, you know, jealousy and anger and petty emotions and things like that kind of gives you a little bit of a rush, certainly a hormone rush. And over time, not only are we caught in our drama and we're surrounding, you know, constantly stepping on our own pain, but in a way we kind of like it because it kind of keeps life interesting and exciting. So one of the things that we have to really face when it comes to ascension and healing is that we have to find new kicks other than these lower vibrations. Like told you so, That's a lower vibration, Yes, I want to say it. Yes, I want to honk at people. Yes, it's a desire that comes from my ego is what it is. And it's mixed with my emotion, which is Cancer. So as we are now riding the oceans of emotions in the sun in Cancer, we're doing it where the sun is now trining between Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, all right? And when we entered into Pisces this year, the universe had a commandment due to Saturn and where it was to officially rid yourself of your karma with yourself. Now, you could have doubled down. You could still be holding on to that karma. There's still time if you haven't. But for those of us who are proactive and tired of the heavy, we have been facing it. And what that means is you've seen it and you've realized I've got this pattern of letting myself down. I got this pattern of not loving myself. I got this pattern of dangling a carrot of love, but never giving it to myself. I got this pattern of accepting love from others. I got this pattern of pushing myself too hard. I got this pattern of judging myself. You understand? That pattern was what the universe was calling for us to release, all right, to get rid of and stop. And so we have been sort of pulling it out, kind of like a nasty tapeworm out of our soul, to be honest. It's a gross visual, but that's what my spirit guide just gave me. Just pulling this nasty tapeworm out, which is basically this gunk that has been in our trunk, spiritual energy that goes for lifetimes and snakes through lifetimes of wound, right? And this echo, this memory of wound. That's why we sort of, self-sabotage and go too far and drink too much and all these types of things, because we have these deep undersea wounds. So when we came to Pisces, the universe said, okay, it's time to let these go, to release these, to forgive these. And then the sun went to Aries, and it's like, and it's time to become the new you based on not being that. And the sun went to Taurus, and it's like, it's time to manifest now. Go out and create now that you are reborn and you have this new ego and you have this new sense of worth, with Jupiter wrapping up in Taurus. Then Jupiter moved into Gemini, and the sun went to Gemini, and the universe said, okay, Pilgrim, it's time to think completely differently about yourself, because you're not the same person you were. You've cleared all this karma. You've got this grand I am. Now you're manifesting. What are you? The mind is still using the old thoughtware against yourself. And maybe there's lots of mind viruses that have to be cleared out. Jupiter's still doing that clearing. We'll talk about that. But as we come into Cancer, we now trine the energy in Pisces. And a trine is a natural wire. So, basically there are the different elements in the chart, right? And there are 4 different elements, and there are 4 different grand, you can grand trine those 4. And the grand trine of the water signs is spirituality, emotion, and boundaries, okay? But it really goes spirituality, boundaries, emotion. What that means is that we are always connecting our spirituality, our boundaries, and our emotion. We're naturally wired that way. When the sun moves into emotion, that grand trine lights up between the 3 signs. And the sun is, again, trining Saturn and trining Pluto, which means that while we're in Cancer, we are directly connecting emotionally to that karma we were to set free. Now, how do you suppose it sets free? It comes down through the Pisces line in the Cancer, right, into the emotional pool. So what's been happening is anything you didn't face in Pisces has come up in the emotional realm of Cancer. And the emotional side of that karma has come up in Cancer. So we might have been strong and manifested and thought differently, but we haven't actually coped with the feelings of the karma, which is what we've been doing the last 20 days. And we are today very much in our new version of ourself, feeling our new you. Today, we are at step 20 today. I got to say, step 20, I'm really learning a lot. I'm in a meditative state right now most of the day. I'm not meditating. I'm just somewhere else. But step 20 really, and this is happening now, and we'll just kind of start with the, happening this week. It's now time to emotionally separate between now and the full moon in Capricorn next Sunday. I do believe it's Sunday. Yes, it is. We're going to separate from our emotional codependence with society. What? Yep, that's right. We have all become emotionally codependent with society. And that sense is having to see the news, having to see what happened to this, having to see if so-and-so is okay, having this, having to text right now, having to check Twitter now, having to. We're just constantly having to, right? And that having to is our emotional attachment. There is some sort of emotional something that we want out of that microtransaction that we are getting from society. And many of us are worried that our life won't be the same if society doesn't go our way. right? Worried that if it doesn't go my way, I'm moving out of California. I'm moving out of the United States. If it doesn't go my way, I'm leaving, right? On a jet plane, right? What that is that I can't emotionally cope with what happens in the world. I can't emotionally cope with that. Now, you might not be able to emotionally cope with that because you can't emotionally cope with yourself. That's most likely the case. You don't know how to calm yourself. Therefore, you don't know how to, you are like on a nipple as a baby, hoping that the earth will go your way because you have no coping skills. That's one demographic. You have people who do have coping skills, but they're still tied up and still, they can cope, but they're constantly, getting zapped, bringing back up the energy, getting zapped, bringing back the energy. So they're coping, but they're caught on the umbilical cord. They can't get off, right? And if you find yourself just have to ask yourself, why? What has to? And if I was 10 years old, how would I have dealt with this, right? Because when you're 10, you just didn't care, right? We didn't care. And that's it. Cancer is caring. So between now and this full moon in Sunday, you're going to find it. And you may say, and I see people saying, oh, I don't watch the news. Okay. It could be your girls' night out. It could be, you could be doing this amongst your golf buddies. It's everywhere. Just because you unplug from media doesn't mean you're unplugged from this desire to have the world go your way so you feel good, right? So it's that desire, because you see, that desire for the world to go our way is what is manipulating us. We are being emotionally manipulated by media, by corporations, by brands. We're being emotionally manipulated. We're saying, you're not enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough, you need us. It's this constant emotional manipulation of you need us, you need us, you need us, and the truth is all you need is you. Okay. And honestly, I think, my opinion, trust brands that say all you need is you. I'll help you, but all you need is you. That's our motive at Serious Joy. I'll help you, but all you need is you. My buddy Human Garage, Gary Lyman, I'll help you, but my motive is you. Okay. Because the world becomes a better place. And I benefit, by the way, when everyone around me is smiling and happy and singing and kids are playing. I love that. I get this. I have a direct selfish investment in trying to help the world because I know the whole place is going to feel better for me. Right. And that's the sort of thing we have to decide between now and this full moon is, what position am I going to take with the world? What emotional position am I going to take? And with that full moon in Capricorn on Sunday, what am I going to divorce myself from? I'm no longer going to be this. I no longer feel like this is my bag anymore. And maybe cutting the strings to wherever you might be emotionally, over invested, right? And I do think, by the way, it's like, I've been predicting it the whole time, but I haven't been talking about it very much. But just the whole recent Biden phenomenon, I expected something like this to happen because this full moon conjuncts United States natal Pluto. So the sun will basically, the full moon will conjunct the natal Pluto as the sun opposes the United States natal Pluto. And that sort of conjunction to me usually means some sort of a power shift, like a major unexpected shift of power. And I was looking at both things. I was looking also at Donald Trump and his court case to see if that would be unexpected. If he went to jail, unexpected shift in power. So I didn't know. I just saw there's going to be an unexpected shift of power with this full moon. And then Pluto skirts right into that spot, plugs into that pocket from September 1st to like November 20th, 22nd, somewhere around there. I have to look at the end date again, which means that like whatever we emotionally choose, Pluto comes in and makes it so. So what you have is a guaranteed lender. Basically, Pluto is guaranteeing that this is going to be destroyed, that this will be divorced. Basically, Pluto's going to sign that divorce for you, whatever you emotionally divorced for. And Pluto's got, I got it. You're done. No, you'll have to leave now. And Pluto will just escort them out the door. And this does happen. It's funny how things happen, just how shift happens. It'll be interesting to watch because basically the people who are hanging on still and too long and didn't see the signs are going to be batted off by Pluto. Pluto will be like, no, my law is final. It's very, very final energetically. And it's kind of interesting how Pluto works because it's sort of like a perfect demolition of a situation. It's really interesting. I imagine, I'm not sure what that is in tarot, but I'd love to know for anyone who practices tarot out there, what that sort of demolition is in tarot. Maybe it's the Tower. I don't know. So in the big picture of things, let me give you the big, a little bit bigger view, and then we'll go into this week and how to navigate these tidal waves. I think there's going to be some big tidal waves this week where there's enough emotional stuff. I mean, basically the title is Tidal Waves Shape History. And this, I'm seeing a tidal wave, around Democratic Party. I just see a tidal wave. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what's going to hit, and I see some people surfing it and some people drowning in it. And these tidal waves are coming in. And there may be more. I don't suspect it's one side or the other, by the way. I think the tidal waves are a result of having taken sides. I basically, I'm just going to say right here, right now, my policy going forward, and I'm just going to put out there in a very clean way, is I'm an independent thinker and I'm an independent voter. And I'm a person now, I feel like with the Pluto and Aquarius, it's time that everyone become independent and make them always fight for us and try to win us over, right? I think you have to earn every year, our devotion is what I suggest. As a Pluto Aquarius suggestion, that we all pull back and go, we're independent. Show me what you got. Take our power back a little bit as a society and be like, show me what you got. Instead of assuming that we're always with you. No, it's contingent. That's Pluto and Aquarius. In fact, we'll talk about that. Pluto goes to Aquarius, 0 degrees Aquarius this week. So, in this analysis, let me actually pull up my notes. I have things closer. As tidal waves are shaping history, part of the tidal wave is that Pluto moves to 0 degrees. And because it does, that's a Grandmaster degree for Pluto. All right. So giving you a big picture of how this week shapes up. And I'm just going to go to my other notes here. All right. So the tidal wave pretty much begins when Mars conjoins Uranus on Monday. That's when the tidal wave begins. So Mars conjoins Uranus. This energy of Mars conjoining Uranus on Monday is basically like a push for something to happen. All right. And what it is whatever side of anything of power, they're all going to push. All power will push. Right. And it's a feeling of it's time to take it higher. And everyone will feel brave and everyone will feel daring and bold. And I'm sure there'll be some jackass that goes too far that we have to watch on the news or hear about on social media. But that's catapulting manifestations. So that's when the tidal wave hits. On Wednesday, 2 days later, Mars drops to 0. Pump. Okay. Now what that does is, Pluto drops to 0. Excuse me. Pluto drops to 0. Pump. Pluto at 0. That's Grandmaster degree of Pluto. What that does is give people the courage to draw a line. Well, F you. It's one of those things. So people are ready to go. That's it. And the thing is you have this tidal wave of emotion. You have the sun in the high degrees of Cancer, which is the high degrees of emotion, the tides, basically, the top, not the depth of the 0 to 9. If you think of Cancer as an ocean, the first 2 decans are deep underwater. The top is the wave. Okay, the top 29 degrees is the emotional wave. Wow, that hits the earth. When Princess Diana died, wow, emotional wave hit the earth. Everyone's like, damn. Everyone felt that slap, right? 9/11, everyone felt that slap. So there's an emotional slap is what I think happens. And I'm not saying it's going to be as dramatic as those situations because honestly, we're becoming more sensitive. So the world doesn't have to manifest so much things like towers falling for there to be an emotional effect. We're now so PTSD, which is interesting for our topic tonight. We have a person who deals with PTSD coming on the show at one of the most PTSD weeks of the year. At least what sets it up. So thank you, God. God is really helping us with the casting of this show and the timing. But in essence, this tidal wave begins when Pluto drops 0 because people are like, I've had enough. I can't take these waves. All right. Get me off this ride. I'm getting sick. And that's in this marriage, in this job, in this company, in this country. I'm getting seasick. Okay. And a lot of that is that a lot of people don't have the emotional coping skills. A lot of people don't. I didn't until recently. I really feel like I finally give myself a little star on my chest, like a little badge on my chest, like emotional coper. I can emotionally cope now. excuse me, but I had to go down in order to come back up. Now, the point is there's a third date, which is Thursday, after Pluto goes to 0. The sun sextiles Uranus at step 26. Okay. So what that means is Mars hits Uranus at step 26 and creates the wave, right? Then Pluto hits dead zero. Whoa. And the wave, I think, goes down and maybe it goes down and then it comes back up in a fierce storm. And then the sun ties back into what created the wave on Thursday at step 26, ties back into the sun with a semi-sextile. So what that does is that sextile, that creates a full-on, I think, tidal wave of emotional change. And that leads to the full moon on Sunday where we go, enough is enough. Get me off this ride. I want off. And so I think what this is sort of like, it's kind of like God is like a dog shaking after it comes out of the water and just get all the water off of it. That's kind of like what the universe is doing to anyone who refuses to grow emotionally. It's just like, you're going to have to emotionally grow and deal with yourself. Right. And I think it puts everyone into a bit of a, well, it depends on who you are and what's going on. If you've done the work, you're like, here we go. Boop, boop, boop. You're just like periscope up, you're in like a bit of a war. Not a war, just like everyone is emotionally upset, right? Now the sun does go into Leo, and Leo, of course, is going to be when the sun comes back out and people find the rainbow bridge to where they need to go. So I believe this has a full happy ending. However, that doesn't mean you get to skip any parts of the attraction. You have to be along for the ride and experience this as much as, like everyone else. And that's what we sign up for. Like, buckle your seatbelts. Put on, get the popcorn, put on the 3D glasses, the 5D glasses, which should be purple and pink, by the way. 5D should be purple and pink. I'm just saying, if you do 5D movies, and get ready for the show, because I think, we've already seen in American politics anyways, but we're seeing in other places too, around the world, a lot of stuff. This isn't just US centric as far as this big shift that's going to happen. All right, let's bring us on to the actual nitty gritty. So the week's theme is Tidal Waves Shape History. And the subtitle is Crystal Cities Are Born. Now, Crystal Cities Are Born is an interesting little phenomenon that was shown in my third eye, which was that was started to unite the light. But from what I'm being shown, there's something about us coming together vibrationally that starts to set the structure for 5D cities. Now, which are known as crystal cities. And from what I understand, these are cities that live basically in the same earth, but they live on a different frequency or vibration. That's what I've understood. And this is where, humans go next. And I'm not sure, I think they can see us, but we can't see them, is from what I've been told. Now, we're just going to have to find out, aren't we? As ridiculous as it sounds, it's very well documented among many yogis and historians, people who research some of the mystery schools about what 5D is and where that next realm is, that is on Earth, but not of Earth, right? So I believe that this emotional event, this full moon in Capricorn at 29 degrees, that is later met by Pluto at 29 degrees, I believe is the birth, is actually created. That hole basically that's created is the nugget of the crystal city. It's the birth of the crystal city. It's the beginning of the crystal city, which is the end of our current power structure. And it's the end of our current power structure as we know it. And we will not go back to what we've had from what astrology tells us. So when we look at the planets of the week, let's start with the sun in Cancer. The sun in Cancer is going to go from step 21 to step 28. And, 21 starts tomorrow. Today we're at step 20. We're kind of feeling what is the past and what is the future? What is the past and what is the future? What is the past and what is the future? That's 20. Like, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I want to feel this way. I don't want to feel this way anymore. I want to feel this way. That's what step 20 is. When you're, you're men back and forth. Tomorrow it's like, okay, it looks like this way. This is the way I want to feel. And so through the week, that's basically what we do. We go, I want to feel this way through the week. I want to feel this way through the week. And this is how I want things to feel. Now, giving out the highlights by, tomorrow, 21, we go, let's try this. Sunday, 22, there's a quantum breakthrough where you realize, this is where I belong, over here. So there's a real realization on Sunday. Then on Monday, you go, yeah, you start to accept it. I'm starting to feel this is where I belong. I'm starting to feel this is where I'm supposed to be. Next, this is supposed to be my village. It's supposed to be where my department I work in the company. This is supposed to be the field I feel like I'm supposed to work in. So depending on what you're working on, and we'll talk about it in your horoscope here at the end of the show, you're going to start to feel like, yeah, I feel like this is where I belong, but still might be a little radical. So Tuesday, step 25 is when we go, God, is this really where I belong? Is this really my calling? Is this what it is? Now, remember, the sun is trining Saturn and trining Neptune at 29 Pisces. So we got a direct line to God right now. We got a full pipeline to the universe. We've never been more clogged up, or unclogged actually, of our karmic clogs. So we're in a very good place to read accurately right now. So come Tuesday, you pray, you'll get an answer, without doubt. I mean, you may not accept the answer. That's a whole nother game, but you'll get it. And then of course we move into step 26, which is Wednesday to Thursday. And that is when we have that tidal wave. The tidal wave starts on Monday, as I said. On Wednesday, it drops to 0. That's when we're at 20. That's when we're at 25. Basically, we're praying to God. So you pray to God and drops to 0. Then when that comes back up, then we go to 26 and 27. And 26 is when it goes back to the sextiles, back to sextiles, back to Uranus. Sorry, I saw the planet. I couldn't see the name. Couldn't make the name come out of my mouth. Like, I see you. What are you? And so that is when you commit. So come Wednesday, Thursday, you commit. Okay, Wednesday, Thursday. And this is a galactic commitment because it is a commitment that the moon is going to cross over the galactic center around that time. And that means that whatever you commit to emotionally, the emotional path you commit to go, you are updating your Pisces karma. Like, okay, it is so, the person moved on. Great. Or, they're signing up for another round. Got it. So I think we sort of pretty much choose our fate emotionally, or we choose the bed to lie in, if you will. And with Pluto at 0, this is it. We have the ability to draw the line. We don't have the ability. We're not fighting anymore. And we can hold the line. We can say, no, I meant no. We'll say no. In emotional relationships, you'll say, no, I've had enough. No. And you'll be able to hold that line, especially with the 26. So that's why it's like a boom, like the whole, most of the time, what we can't get past are the feelings. And so because we can't get past the feelings, we stay stuck. What this says is God's going to give you the axe to cut the emotional cord. So you will feel it naturally inside of you. You will not have to find or search for it. It will just be there. That's how the planets work. They sort of just light us up. It's like spiritual drugs you get to like perk you up at different aspects. And so we're getting a little perked up in the cut the bullshit off and over in the and stop the bad feelings. So it's it could be a very emotionally draining week. If you end up processing a lot of feelings, you might be very drained. In fact, you know what, Adam, let's go to the moon next instead of what we're going to do before. Let's go to the moon. With the moon, just to give us, which is going to tell us a lot what that emotional story is. Saturday and Sunday, wrong mirror. Saturday and Sunday, the moon's in Libra. So we're back and forth and back and forth and back and forth as we go to 21 and 22 degrees with the sun. So, this weekend will be emotionally very shifting, very impressive. I recommend going out. I recommend being in public. I recommend bouncing off of other people's energy because you'll grow faster if you're working with the collective. And we're very, very, very easygoing when we have the moon in Libra. So everyone's sort of getting along naturally, and disharmonies are working out. So it's a very lovely weekend in that sense. But it's also perhaps provocative, perhaps daring, perhaps bold. As far as the emotions that come up and what you come to terms with and what you decide, what you feel needs to happen. Then comes Sunday night, Monday and Tuesday, the moon goes into Scorpio. Now that's where we can start. This is where we start to draw emotional lines, right? And remember on Monday, we have the tidal wave hit by Mars conjuncting Uranus. So the tidal wave hits, everyone runs for cover, moon in Scorpio. Everyone shuts down, pushes away, separates, isolates, finds their corner, right, of the room. As we go into 25, God, is this right? And then 26, and then again at 26, that's when we have Pluto drop to 0, boom, right? And 0 is Scorpio. So basically, you have this ability to cut a line like you never had before. You feel it with the moon in Scorpio, and Pluto moves to 0, giving you grandmaster ability to end things that have been with you for a lifetime. All right. Then late Tuesday, the moon goes into Sag, and Wednesday in Sag and Thursday in Sag. And as it goes in Thursday in Sag, the moon crosses the galactic center. And that's basically when we make a decision about how we're going to feel or not feel in the future. All right. So that's going to come with the moon in Sag. And the moon in Sag is basically saying, are you going to do this over and over again? Is this always going to be your story? Are we always going to be caught up in the same old drama and the same old character, the same old thing? That's what the moon in Sag Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is going to be saying. Are we always going to be caught up in this? And then come Friday, we have the sun go to 28 degrees. And at that point, we're at a place where we're saying, okay, I'm ready to act 27 on Thursday and manifest 28 on Friday. I'm ready to emotionally make this new world for myself. I want a new emotional world. And the moon in Capricorn now is starting to build to its full status. And so we're now detaching from emotional stuff inside of ourselves to prepare to detach from the world. I need to take a sip. It's really dry in Colorado right now. Yeah, basically. So basically, this whole week is on your mark, get set, cut. Let's get this on your mark, get set. Let's get out of here. On your mark, get set. Let's leave this situation. Let's emotionally divorce. Water is not tea is what I needed. Okay, so then let's move back to Leo. So we move to Leo. We have Mercury and Venus in Leo, and this. Oops, I keep doing that. This brings this brings the heart into the mix. Okay, this is how we steer the ship. Is because Mercury from 15 to 24 is basically your mind is going, well, what is a loving life anyways? Like, what would I love? So our mind is shopping for something we love. And Venus from 1 to 10 is we're opening up to loving ourselves more. So what this does is this fuels you got to leave that bad relationship. You got to leave that bad job. You got to divorce yourself from worrying about who's president. You got to divorce yourself from worry about, who ends up taking over the company, right? Like, we have to find our joy without the universe, without society having to participate. We have to find it autonomous as spiritual beings. And so you have an open heart, and this is why we can actually make a change. These two are trailblazing for when the sun will move into this space, of course, on the beginning of 40 days of self-love and ascension. So it's powerful times. Then we go to Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter in Gemini over the week goes from step 10 to step 12, Jupiter in Gemini. I don't know if he hears me. But there we go. Thanks, brother. And the significance of this is 10, the mind at the beginning of the week is saying, okay, I definitely, I know who I am and I know I'm capable of. So one of the underlying forces of this week is we no longer doubt ourself in our mind. We no longer doubt ourself in our mind. And because we don't doubt ourself in our mind, we suddenly have a lot more energy and less friction and less inner restraint than we have had ever, probably in many years, probably in all of our life, actually. And then as it goes to 11, we realize, yeah, I really am. I know what I'm talking about. I definitely know what I'm talking about. And Jupiter goes to 12, which is at that point a grandmaster degree. And Jupiter 12 means that we forge a new belief, a whole new belief about what's possible going forward. So you have this simultaneous freeing of the mind, emancipation of the mind, emancipation of what the mind has been saying you can't do. And I've already felt this. I got to tell you, I've had a few emancipations myself already, and I have a lot of mind stuff going on because I have a grand trine in air. So my mind backs up my bullshit 3 ways. You know what I mean? So getting out of my own BS is really complicated. It's like a complicated web. But I have realized I have been holding myself hostage and holding myself back in so many things for so many reasons, but I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done. Like, I'm done. Let's just see if someone has a problem with being who I am. You know what I mean? Like, and it's crazy because I'm a light worker. I'm a teacher. I've always tried to be who I am. And still I find these layers that I was hiding from myself. So it's fun discovery. Jupiter is the did you know planet. Did you know you could be mayor? Did you know you could sell and actually refinance? Did you know you could do this? And once you know, it's hard to actually put that genie back in the bottle. Moving on to Taurus. In Taurus, we have, of course, Uranus and both Mars. And, Mars really, this is what creates the tidal wave right here. Mars crashing into Uranus, okay? If you don't know, this is the planet of war. And this is a planet of invention. And, usually we invent a lot when we're in war. They kind of go hand in hand. Sometimes it's the only time we do invent is for the purpose of destruction, which is crazy. That's the extinctionists that are on the planet. They're always trying to destroy things. But Mars going from 24 to 29 is the launch of something very practical, a business plan, a strategy, a productization. This is the launch to get someone elected, let's say. This is the launch to start a company. This is the launch to have a baby. This is the launch to start a new community for people. It's that sort of launch. It's really big because it's Uranus at 26 degrees. This is a launch of a commitment. 26 is a commitment. So we launch a commitment. If you just launched an idea, well, it may or may not take off. You launch a commitment, well, it's got a good potential here. And Uranus is just going to keep pushing that energy up and outward. Uranus goes to 27 before it retrogrades, which is a grandmaster move forward. So this is what creates the tidal wave, basically. And this, by the way, if you don't know, is our ego. And so our ego meets our had enough energy because Uranus says, I've had enough. And Mars is ego. I have had enough is how this sentence is read astrologically. I have had enough. And so that bursts a big emotional shift. Looks like they're going to lay off everyone in the Ohio branches. And that, of course, ties all to our karma in Pisces. So in Pisces, we have Saturn and Neptune. They're 10 degrees apart. And these two characters here are holding space. Those sparkles between those two planets are holding space for the new spiritual destiny. Who's going to be president? I don't know. It's in this space right here. The future is in this space. It's all dependent on whether or not human beings cut their cords from their prior karma or not. That's what determines it. Right now, what determines that is whether you allow certain feelings to repeat. If you allow it to repeat, you're saying, yep, bring it back one more round. I'll take some more karma. That'll be great. So allowing the feelings to progress. It's okay you got upset. It's not okay you stayed upset. You should have cleared, neutralized, let it go. Life has got more to do than that moment, right? That's what emotional maturity is taking it, nurturing, loving ourselves, and moving on, okay? Not just continuing to spiral and circle and spiral and circle, right? So as the sun, the sun's already trying Saturn. That happened last week. It was a major turning point. That happened yesterday. I'm in a time warp. Yesterday, the sun trying Saturn, and it was a sober day. It was like, it's time to get responsible. It's time to get moving. It's time to get my butt in gear. And I think even I had that realization. I've been sort of just floating in the 12th house transit. I'm the sun in the 12th right now. So it's been like, la, la, la. Oh my God, 5 hours has gone by. What have I been doing? And then the sun trying Saturn yesterday, I'm like, okay, I gotta get back to work. Like, come out of it. Snap out of it, Sensei. Now the sun is moving up to a trine to Neptune. Now here's the shift. Okay, here's the shift. Neptune at 29 sort of opens up the vortex to all the timelines. 29 and 0 both open up the vortex to both timelines. In fact, 29 is always next to a 0. That's the vortex, right? 29 to 0, right? In this case, to 0 degrees, Aries would be the vortex that is right there. When you have a planet cross that vortex of 29-0, you have a major whoop of something, okay? Or depending on where we happen to be. With Neptune at 29, okay, that full moon of Capricorn at 29 means the sun will be trining Neptune, which will be sextiling the full moon at 29. It's a 29 full moon that trines Neptune, all right? That means that this full moon is the divorce. It is the spiritual divorce, and Neptune is holding open the door to separate the timelines and just to choose which of these, what path will you take? And the universe doesn't care what it is, but you have to choose. So that full moon on Sunday, which I'm actually, I don't usually talk about events that come after the next show that's going to air very much, but I'm really prepping you this week because all the emotions you go through this week are all preparing you for whatever this divorce is, and you're not letting the world get to you. You're putting yourself as a priority. And that is a major karma event that shifts the pattern of where you are heading or not heading for the rest of eternity. Yeah, it's a pretty powerful full moon. Well, then we go into Pluto, dropping to 0. Pluto in Aquarius goes from 1 to 0 degrees. I believe, I didn't look to see when it goes to 0 exactly. Oh, yes, I did. I was in the open. It's on Wednesday. Pluto goes to 0 on Wednesday. What that does is basically gives you the inner fortitude to say, I'll find another man. I'll find another job. I'll find another car. I'll find another city. I'm not going to tolerate this. I'll find another country. I'm not going to tolerate this. It's going to be able to just drop that 0. And everyone's going to know, wow, he's serious. That's pretty crazy. And I think people are going to feel, the gravity of it. And especially in relationships, like he means it this time or she means it this time. You can feel it, right? So Pluto at 0 is basically everyone taking sides. And I think in politics is people taking sides. And I feel like, it's sort of setting up for the friction that happens September 1st. I think while Pluto's at 0, we actually will feel 0. We will not feel hostility. We will not feel anger. We won't feel jealousy. We won't feel anyone, we're not going to feel, I don't want to say enemy, let's say opponents. And then Pluto goes to 29 and suddenly like everyone's like, rah, right? And that's the same spot that the full moon is in this week. And then finally we have Aries. In the Aries energy, we have the North Node going from 10 to 9. Now that's really important because when it goes to 9, it's sort of all hands on deck with yourself. And that's the point when, I was a child of 80s movies. That's the point when the victim leaves the perpetrator, when the victim goes, you're not doing this to me anymore. I've got to stand up for myself. I will survive. I will not turn back. It's that moment. The North Node's like, go for it. It gives you this go for it energy. And once you're told to go for it, you have the energy to go for it. You might have not been able to get off the couch before then, but now you will have that energy. So this is to create the new grand I am, that we launched with the solar eclipse. Now you are actually becoming that I am that you declared that you would become. Now you start to stand up. It's sort of a super moment. Let's put it that way. Chiron at 23 means that we are healing our vision of the future. And the way that looks is, I was thinking I had to be this way, but maybe not. Or maybe it's not going to turn out the way I thought, or maybe they actually are on my side. So starting to like realize that like you've been seeing the whole world kind of foggy in the foggy window, because of all your pain you're projecting, because of all your prejudices, because of where the world was at the time and all that sort of stuff. And so you were saying, I don't see how it's going to happen. Now we can see how it's going to happen. So these are really motivators, because it's like, this is saying, I'm ready. I feel the strength to do it. And I now see it can happen. So this is sort of a, wow, there's a real possibility here that I can change my life. And that's everyone at the same time realizing that. So it means that there's a lot. So tension sort of rises. And I think this sort of, the North Node going to 9, which is like the universe saying, do something, do something, do something, do something, do something. That's what the North Node at 9 is going to feel like in Aries. Do something. It's that nagging, like, oh, I got to do something. I just can't sit here. I got to do something. And so people kind of like pop and end up doing something. If you're not in touch with your feelings, it could be something that you can't take back. So, be very hyper aware of your feelings as you're going through this, but realize it's a strong hit of spiritual adrenaline, if you will. We're getting a shot of spiritual adrenaline. Adam, I know that's going to be a title. I just know it. All right. Excuse me. I think it's time to talk about you, my friend. Ooh, is this going out green? Go steep yourself some tea, and let's have our weekly tea time. Hello and welcome to Tea Time. This is the part of the show where we talk about the horoscopes for all 12 signs. And we are looking at always 4 categories here for the week to kind of give you a little bit of a, way to, coast through these events. If you don't know, we have these cut out every week on Tuesdays on YouTube. So you can go and watch these again on Tuesday after the weekend. Gives you a lot of perspective. This is one of the weeks where I recommend you do that, by the way, because it's just such a momentous week. You might live like 3 or 4 lives in one week, just saying. So, get some sleep, drink a lot of water. We're doing a lot of processing, try to eat light, meals. And when I say light, I mean things that still are alive that were just cut yesterday, like plants versus things that are dead. Even if you eat meat, I would say I would slow down on it this week. Because it's a heavier vibration and we're trying to get rid of heavy vibration. So if your body is digesting the heavy vibration, so just whatever is light to you, eat light. You can eat as much as you want, but eat light foods. All right. And foods with light in them. All right. So what we're working on basically from steps 22 to 28, and I didn't bring this up before, is emotional security. What you're really longing for is to feel emotionally secure. That's why, and that means I feel good. I feel good about my life. I feel good about the future. People are wanting to feel good about the future. That's what it comes down to. And so people are going to make some decisions with that tidal wave. That tidal wave forces everyone to get off the beach where they've all been beached whales, basically, right? And it's like, we got to move now. Even the cows have got to move. Everyone's going to move out of the way of this tsunami that's coming in. And so as a result, everyone wants higher ground. They want more stability. They want more resilience, right? So in each of the 12 signs tonight, I'll be talking about where are you building emotional security? And if you focus on that emotional security just at the sun sign level, just where the sun sign is, excuse me, I'm very bubbly, you will find that the rest of your life falls into gear, okay? So I do say you can listen to your sun sign and your rising sign, but the sun sign is the pinch point of where everything falls into alignment. Then I'm going to talk about Mars conjuncting Uranus. Where will the tidal wave begin is the question. Mars conjuncting Uranus. I'll talk about for all 12 signs where Mars conjuncts Uranus. And of course, the sun sextiles that wave on Thursday. So we'll be talking about how those two are actually connected. Then I'll talk about Mercury and Venus in Leo and where your heart is starting to open up and bloom. This is where you find your guidance on where to go. And then we'll talk about the North Node and Chiron and Aries. And by the way, Mercury and Venus will both trine the North Node and Chiron and Aries this week, which means that you're going to connect it to what's the plan? Where am I going? Where am I headed? Right? And we'll do that for all 12 signs. All right. And I have to get my water, actually. My blue water. A lot of people have asked what brand this is. I don't know. This was an impulse TikTok purchase, just so you know. Do we have music playing? Is that me? Okay. Let's start with Aries. Aries. You're going to be manifesting emotional security. Okay, that's my drink the bubbly water music, I guess. You're going to be working on emotional security at the core. So Aries are, this is home, family, refinance, move, put a pool in the backyard so the kids will freaking calm down. It's emotional security, man. And so you're making some decisions to stay calm. The new Aries is a lot calmer than the old Aries. We're going out of the revenge and anger business here on Earth. And so Aries are being reassigned. So the first thing that has to happen is you have to calm and stay within your calm so that your ego can be used appropriately. Okay. Yeah, that was cool. People like the music. So that's emotional security is what you're working on. Now, the skyrocketing growth of the tidal wave is probably business or money related. You're probably going to have some sort of money opportunity to manifest, or a project or product or something like that. That's what makes you suddenly, I don't know if I have the emotional security to handle this. I don't know if I have the emotional security to get this done. All right. And of course, that's the point. Get the emotional security. That's what you're here to do. Mercury and Venus in Leo says, but you're really starting to say to yourself, I deserve the best. My heart really wants My heart really wants this. My heart really wants that. So your heart's going to be really warm and lit up about what's possible. So, listen to your heart, listen to your dreams, because that's ultimately what's going to pull you out of any hesitation or doubt. And then that energy, and then North Node and Chiron and Aries means this leads to new behavior. This leads to a new action plan that you're ultimately going to behave, and you're going to be a different person from listening to your heart and listening to what your heart wants. And that is going to, I think, bring you to emotional securities by listening to that heart. So in simple terms, it's a moody week, but if you choose your heart, you will totally win. All right. Taurus. Tauruses are building a new attitude, emotional attitude on life, a new emotional approach on life. And I can already feel this happening myself. I've had a lot of my old self has invited me into old worry and old types of things. And I've said to my old self, no, I don't think I want to go there anymore. I have a new attitude about how I should approach things. I'm going to try it this way this next round. So it's an emotional attitude about life that you are adopting. The tidal wave is that you are becoming a new person, that you are becoming a new and improved person, a stronger person with a greater character. The tidal wave is that you, the I am, who you are becoming is the tidal wave. And that's why you need the new attitude. Mercury and Venus and Leo says you have got to really nurture yourself like a bull, like, what's the word? Like Wagyu beef. You got to really be well pampered and loved and nurtured and be kind to your feelings if you want to make that manifestation really roll. And that energy tries right into your faith. So the North Node says it's time to act on your faith at 9 degrees. If you have faith in it, then do it. Okay, that's what the universe is saying. If you have faith in it, then do it. And your spirituality, your faith is in your karma. Your karma now is clear. Your new vision of the future is that you are karma free. And you ought to see that you are now karma free. Good job, my fellow bull. Moo, 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 moo. Gemini. Gemini, I haven't seen y'all move too much yet, but you are basically going to have a new emotional connection to money. And that emotional connection, if you're young, might be fear that makes you, work harder or want more and more, things. But in essence, what you are working on is abundance. Like you are ready to emotionally open up to abundance. And maybe you've been closed to abundance because you knew you'd have to work harder and you didn't want to, you didn't want to feel that way, or you're going to have to ask someone for money. So you didn't want to feel that way. So it's possible that money has been blocked because of feelings you don't want to face, is what the astrology is saying, Gemini. But that, of course, is working with the major tidal wave, which is a new karmic event. So Geminis are going to have a karmic event. What's a karmic event? It is, a baby is born, you meet the love of your life, someone passes away, a job of a lifetime, some sort of something that a penny you sent from heaven back before you were born lands now on the earth finally, and boom, it builds a sudden realization on faith. It's going to give you a burst of faith. That tidal wave is a tidal wave of faith for you. With Mercury and Venus in Leo, your self-talk and your intellectual pursuits start to open up. Your heart, your mind starts to bloom now, and you start to realize, wow, maybe I can, and maybe you stop talking yourself out of not doing it. And by the way, all that energy then trines the North Node and Chiron in the house of society. So the universe is saying, when it comes to your place in the world, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Go for it, go for it, go for it in the world for world success or for world, recognition, or to make your dent in the world, to borrow my buddy Chris Rex term. So it looks like, this big tidal wave is some sort of a fated event, and you realize your mind has got to love you, and you realize I got to go for it in the world. I just got to go for it. All right. Cancers, happy birthday. This is quite a birthday for you. This is a new character that is being born. Emotional stability for you is tied to your character. And you are learning to adopt a different character that will be more emotionally grounded and calm, which means you are less reactive and less codependent or connected to other people or the outcome of things outside of you, that your emotional independence happens inside of you. The South Node in Libra is working through your 4th house. So you're learning how to deal with your emotions so that you can find your way with the North Node in Aries. We'll talk more about that in a moment. So this emotional security comes from being a different person or behaving a different way than you have in the past, which is very allowable. We all train ourselves to change. Now, the tidal wave that comes is some sort of a new social promotion or recognition or opportunity. So some opportunity in society, to step up or to lead, or perhaps to be a part of something unique and interesting. This is the tidal wave for Cancers. There's going to be this opportunity. And where you realize with Mercury and Venus is, I deserve this opportunity. I deserve this. I've worked hard for this. This is what I've come to deserve, and I shall embrace. I deserve this, and I will take it. And then this all trines into your career. That the universe is saying, hey, it's time to do it when it comes to your career. Act on it, move forward, make it happen. And Chiron at 23 says, and you now have a new vision that you could be something you never thought you could be, or someone you could never be as far as your legacy or career is concerned. So this is a real step up to the Cancers, a real step up to the plate for Cancers, and really realizing that this is a time where they're going to really go far in their career and the legacy they leave on Earth. Good stuff. Leos, you are creating new emotional security with God. And you're probably receiving a new soul assignment. At least that's what I've been told. I've been told I'm going to receive a new assignment from God now that I have graduated certain tasks that she has given me. But this could also be a new faith in God. This could be a new connection, such as you realize you are talking to the dead or angels, or that you are having precognitive dreams. But it's a level up in your God connection, which makes you feel a whole lot safer in the universe. And that allows the jungle to be the king or queen of the jungle once again. Now, the tidal wave is career. There's a legacy or career item that's going to happen this week that's going to take off on Monday or so. That's going to create quite a tidal wave of opportunity for you. And this is going to be what really forces you to, marry into your faith in God, because you don't want to wreck this opportunity. Of course, Mercury and Venus are in your sign, so you are feeling lit up. You are feeling shiny and pretty and like anything is possible now. And so this lights you up in a very powerful and good way. And so I think you're articulate and you're pretty because Venus is in the 1st house, and you're sparkling. So that's all good. And that energy then trines into belief and purpose. You have a belief about yourself. You have a belief about something you could do. You have a belief about something that's possible. And so the North Node of 9 is going to say, do it. Believe in yourself. Bet on yourself. Put your money where your mouth is. Act on what you believe. So act in accordance with your beliefs. And Chiron at 23 is going to make you realize, wow, my legacy is not what I thought it was. A new vision of what my purpose and what brings me the greatest meaning in life is. So you could say a real boost for the Leos this week in their faith and in their career legacy. All right. Virgos are basically creating emotional security with their social reputation and ambition. Virgos want to feel at home in the world. They want to find their home in the world. They want to find their home in their company, or their home, with their hobbies, or their home with their tribe. So Virgos are really emotionally trying to feel secure with who they are in the world and what their place is in the world. And this is, working with in a powerful way, of course, the wave maker, Mars and Uranus, which is a new life purpose. I think Virgos the tidal wave is going to be this understanding. In fact, actually, I already know one Virgo who had this happen, come to think of it, where suddenly there was just a clarity on purpose. And I saw the wave open up in this person's eyes. So I've already seen it. It's like Virgo, what's coming across as a brilliant idea for Virgos, I think, is the wave. And this leads to a new social reputation. Now, Mercury and Venus are in Leo, so Virgos are really feeling that they're really having faith. They're feeling their spiritual mission. They're feeling, their purpose and their calling. And it's undoubtable because their heart is lit up like a Christmas tree. So, and this energy trines into boundaries and transformation, which means that it's basically going to be the jumpstart that you need to change your life. That you're going to be like, okay, that's it. I'm going to change my life, which means you're going to change your boundaries with yourself. You might have said never to something that you actually do. So that kind of happens. Virgos are like adamantly against it until they're not, which is really funny. That's Aries in the 8th house. But what that's going to do is once you change trusting yourself in a different way and act on that trust, then you start to see your life is going to truly change. So I'd say another very positive horoscope for the Virgos. Libras. Libras, you are emotionally becoming comfortable with a new legacy. You are realizing emotionally that it's not going to turn out the way you thought it was. It's going to turn out a little differently for some reason. Well, for many reasons. You'll find out why. So you emotionally are trying to feel secure with your career future, your parenting future, your leadership future, being able to control your future. That's where you're working for emotional grounding. Now, the tidal wave is probably a transformation or some sort of major boundary change, like being laid off from work, finding out that you can't renew the lease, hearing that they're going to close down your division. Something's going to be a surprise boundary, or it could be an opportunity of a lifetime that is impossible to refuse. Okay. So that's what causes the wave. Now, all the while, your heart is very open about where you belong on earth. You're more connected with understanding where you should go on earth versus where you shouldn't go on earth, who your friends are versus who your friends aren't, who you want to be in the world, who you don't want to be in the world. Your heart's just lit up. And so it's guiding you as to where you want to be in the world, which is terrific. And that energy trines into long-term relationships. Now, for the most part, the universe is saying to Libras, it's time to be there for you in a way you've never been there for you. Okay. So do it for yourself. And what that does is that changes the fate of where your partnerships or marriages are going. Because you do for you, you shift where long-term relationships can go in your life. That's what turns the dial. Do for you with the North Node in Aries, your house of Mirage. I'm going to blank there for a moment. All right. Scorpios. Scorpios are going to have a feeling about a new life purpose. They're going to feel that their purpose is now changed. They're going to feel that they can go a new direction. And this is very likely due to family relationships, because Cancer rules your house of beliefs. And so a lot of times your families really end up affecting your beliefs. So in some regards, this is actually liberation from your family that's giving you this clarity, right? But you have a new emotional purpose in life that as a result. This energy is working with the tidal wave, which is partnerships, marriages. That's going to be what causes the tidal wave. It could be the ability to partner with someone professionally. It could be that you are getting married or separated, or you're moving in with someone. But it is a partnership that causes this emotional wave. Now, where you are going to be really good is with self-discipline and your legacy. Your heart's going to be very open and very clear about where you're meant to go and where you're not meant to go. And if you love yourself, you'll choose you, not necessarily the relationship. So self-love and legacy, I think, really drives the story home, or gives you the information that you needed. And this trines to the North Node in Aries around health and lifestyle. The universe is saying it's time to really do it when it comes to your health and be there for yourself and your body and connect it to your body. And then Chiron 23 says, and that will change your view of what life can be going forward. So Scorpios, a bit more hidden in their changes, but due to partnership shifts, I think, going on. All right. I think I'm drinking too much water. Sagittarius is. Sagittarius, you are emotionally getting comfortable with a lot of change. There's a lot of change about to happen, and you're trying to find your emotional wherewithal as to whether or not you can do it. And of course you can, you absolutely can. But you have to work through the feelings ultimately is what it comes down to. So you're feeling through this transformation. The tidal wave is a work or lifestyle change. That's what Rick's tidal wave, that suddenly goes, wow, my world's about to change. My work life's about to change. My routines are about to change. My power in the moment is about to change. That's the tidal wave. Now, the good news is with Mercury and Venus, you very much believe in yourself right now. You know you can do this. You know it. You don't have any more doubts. There's no more arguing going on in the mind. And Jupiter over in Gemini has also given you a really strong mindset as well in many ways. And we can talk about that. I don't want to skew off a little bit, but in relationships, you're thinking clearer and you're thinking better as well. But that said, belief in self, belief in purpose, that is super strong. And that energy is trining straight into love and creativity. Basically, the universe is saying to Sagittarius, it's time to love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. And then that heals your capacity to be creative on a level that you want to be creative. So by loving yourself, you just open up in your personal dreams, your wishes, or golden eggs, is like I like to call it. All right, moving on. Capricorns. Capricorns, you are getting emotionally comfortable with marriage and partnership. You're being forced into a different side of the room when it comes to marriage and partnership. You have to have different feelings. That the partnership have to operate on a different level now. They no longer can operate on the level they have been. So a partnership that's emotionally comfortable for you is really important. This chimes into the tidal wave, and the tidal wave is some dream starting to come to fruition. Now, that dream could be falling in love, which then explains the relationship part, or that dream could create waves in your partnership that, ultimately forces the partnership. But the tidal wave is some sort of personal dream project, is the tidal wave. Now, the Venus and Mercury is really making you very strong about trusting yourself. You can trust yourself. You've got this at this point. There's no doubts about you having it and that you being able to pull this off. So that's really strong. And that energy trines into your emotional center. In fact, what that means is you trust yourself, so you have to really go for what your feelings are telling you, to act on what your feelings are telling you, to be responsive to your emotional needs, to put your feelings above your mind or other goals or something like that. Put your feelings above that. So ultimately, putting your feelings first is what will help you. And then when you do that, Chiron at 23 says home and family now, your vision of home and family, it now has a healed vision. So you're going to heal where you were thinking it was going wrong in your family, and now you realize, well, it could go right. So it's great. All righty. Cheers. Aquarius. Aquariuses are emotionally holding space for a new lifestyle. So this is a balance between work, life, love, creativity, fun, all these types of things. This is where we vacation. This is, where we go for Christmas. This is what we do with the dogs. It's that sort of, creating that emotional lifestyle, that lifestyle, which is very homey. Aquariuses actually usually have very comfortable homes because Cancer rules their house of lifestyle. So you're trying to get secure on your lifestyle. Ironically, the wave is emotional security. So something might interrupt in home or family to trigger this change. Something might disrupt in the home itself that creates a lifestyle change or a desire to change lifestyle. Now, Mercury and Venus are in the house of marriage and partnerships. So you're really good with you. You're really sharp with you right now. You're not going to be misled or manipulated or talked into something that you don't want to do. You know exactly what you need and you're ready to speak for your needs. And that energy is trining into your intellectual plans. So the universe is saying, hey, you know who you are. It's time to do what you've been thinking about. So Aquarius has been thinking about something, and the universe is saying it's time to think in those terms. It's time to do it, do it, do it. Do what you're thinking. Do what you're thinking for yourself. What that's going to do is change your strategic plan and heal your plans. And so you, out of all signs, might actually see a new future that you never saw before, just because your mind was unwilling to act on something about yourself. And now you are willing to act on that. And suddenly that heals the whole vision of what's possible. Good job. And then lastly, the Pisces. Pisces, you are getting comfortable about a new wish or dream, something that your heart wants, something your heart is wishing for. And this wish or dream is something you're trying to get security around and feel secure about. This wish or dream is something that you might have been wanting for a very long time, and the universe, let me tell you, wants you to have it. Now, this emotional dream that you have to get comfortable with is tied to a fresh attitude. The tidal wave is a new realization, a new idea, some idea that's been in your head that now is just taking fire in your head and moving forward. So, this is, of course, this is going to stir your personal dreams and stir the pot as to what it is that you hope for in your personal dreams. Now, Mercury and Venus is in the house of health and lifestyle. Your mind knows you're in a healthy place, or you know how to get to the healthy place. You're now open to doing what it takes to be healthy, open to doing what it takes to be plugged into the moment. And so that energy is trining the house of money, which means that it's very likely that it's time to act on that. Do it is act on a new self-worth about yourself. Act on why you're valuable. Act on why you're what you know is good inside of yourself, what you know is valuable inside yourself, what you value in yourself. And by acting on what you value in yourself, you then change and heal the story of how much money you can make, how abundant you can live, how great you can express yourself, when it comes to materialism. So you're literally going to open up in that potential. But again, you got to be really clear on what your heart wants and live in your heart in the moment is my last note for that. So that health and lifestyle also means living in your heart every moment to moment. All right, Pisces. Terrific. Well, we're going to take just a little break here. And when I come back, I'm very excited. We're going to have intuitive empath and energy practitioner, Henri Hebert. We'll see you soon. Keep streaming. The Zodiac weather is from Saturday, July 13th to Friday, July 19th, 2024. Looking ahead at the weekend forecast, over the weekend, you're going to open up to new ideas and have some inspiration or breakthrough. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and breezy. Step 21 means it's starting to get fun. Jupiter rules the day, and so you are ready to expand your belief about what the future can hold. You are going to feel some relief over this, and something new is going to open up in your life. With the moon in Libra, you're feeling a different relationship to the future. On Sunday, it's partly cloudy, yet rational. Step 22 means Uranus rules the day. Expect the unexpected. You are feeling divine shifting going on in the universe, but your thinking comes into alignment, and this is why you can rationalize what's happening. The moon in Scorpio, you can draw an emotional line and feel emotionally safe. Looking ahead at the week, the 5-day moodcast from Monday to Friday. Over the course of this week, you're going to see a new vision for how you want to feel about the future, and by Friday, you'll be taking some action. On Monday, it's sunny and guarded. Step 23 means Mercury rules the day. You are feeling very clear. I feel clarity. Remaining emotionally agile. But with the sun squaring Chiron, there's a lesson to be learned. And with Mars conjoining Uranus, things are about to manifest very quickly. Of the moon in Scorpio, you're also realizing you're going to have to change to accept all this change. On Tuesday, it's sunny and safe. Step 24 indicates Venus rules the day. That means it's a creative, resting, and receiving day. I feel accepted on this day. You're going to feel more at ease. This allows you to turn to your heart's truest desires. The moon moves into Scorpio at the high degrees, saying, hey, I'm ready to transform my life. And then moon moves into Sagittarius, meaning that you emotionally feel the story is indeed changing. On Wednesday, it's partly cloudy, yet inspired. Step 25 means Neptune is ruling the day. So you are connected to your higher self, spirit, and God universe. You are feeling your fate as a result, and facing any emotional doubts about receiving that fate and making it happen. And funny enough, as soon as you realize that fate, Pluto retrogrades to 0 Aquarius, which means that fate is sealed. On Thursday, it's sunny and bountiful. Step 26 means Saturn rules the day. We're feeling large and in charge and feeling devoted to the future. You're going to sharpen your vision, and therefore the vision of the future will change the future. The moon's in Sagittarius, so the universe is listening. The moon crossed the galactic center, which means galactic center and the Milky Way is listening. And with the sun sextiling Uranus, you are coordinating how you want to feel with what you want to make. And Mercury trining Chiron, you're now on top of how this is a healing moment for you in your vision. So it is a bountiful day for spiritual change. And then on Friday, it's sunny and preserved. Step 27 means Mars rules the day. You are ready now to move forward. You are feeling engaged in this new vision and opening up to new wild frontiers. But with Venus trining the North Node in Aries, it's now time to become the new you as what's necessary to make it happen. And a galactic yod with the moon crossing the galactic center means the universe is listening.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
Hello and welcome to Astro Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented light workers and innovative influencers of our time. One of our goals here on Astro Mingle is to unveil the mysteries of healing, empowerment, and most importantly, the path to being a light worker and beyond. And our guest tonight is a living example of someone who transformed themselves from the muggle world to the light worker world. Henri Hebert is an intuitive empath and energy practitioner whose expertise spans Reiki, Dowsing Energy Sessions, Akashic Records, Mindfulness Meditation, Kundalini Yoga, and trauma-informed practices. She blends ancient wisdom with modern techniques to offer a unique approach to healing. On her podcast, Inspiring You, Henri offers practical guidance, cosmic insights, and healing tips. She empowers individuals to embrace health, happiness, and personal growth, helping them navigate life's complexities and awaken their inner potential. By the way, her podcast is on Spotify. Please send waves of love and gratitude to welcome our guest, Grandmaster Step 29 Scorpio, Henri Hebert. Yay!
Hello. Nice
How
to
are
meet
you?
you and be here.
Likewise. Such a pleasure. Where are you located, by the way?
I'm in Santa Monica, California.
Oh, nice. That's nice and breezy. Yeah. Nice area of the country as far as energy is concerned. It's a pleasure to have you here on tonight. And, I kind of want to just jump right into it real quickly so they kind of understand. You have a background of PTSD, you're saying. I was reading in your resume and in your background. And this is probably the most PTSD moment of the year astrologically, just so you know. You being one of your many expertise. What can you tell us about what do you feel PTSD actually is in your experience of having observed it?
So that's a great question. So the technical term is it's post-traumatic stress disorder, and it can occur after someone's experienced or witnessed a traumatic event. It's obviously at this point not limited to combat veterans or for first responders. It can
Right.
affect individuals from various backgrounds.
It seems like it's
So
spreading like cancer.
right. It's really, and obviously, coming out of having a global pandemic,
Right.
people don't realize that they could have pandemic PTSD.
Okay.
And I was listening to you before in terms of everything that you're saying, and I was like, yes, everything he's saying is what I also have been getting from the guides. And as you know, in terms of the design of the stars and how it can support you in many ways, I feel like in a lot of ways, I have just been guided for this moment.
Oh,
And
yeah,
one of
yeah.
the things is just, working in television for many years where I was an executive producer in reality TV. I was in television for over 20 years. And I was part of, if you will, the generation that brought forth reality TV as a genre.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I first started, people were like, what is reality TV? Like, why don't you work on something that we know or scripted?
60 minutes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something like
Something with
that.
credibility. Yeah.
Exactly.
I know.
And as when you're being guided, a lot of times you're like, I know I'm supposed to be here, but what is
Right.
happening? And so television ended up being really my training ground for energy, my first energy practicing, if you will, because when you're speaking about chaotic energies and things like that, working in television can be extremely chaotic at times.
Yep.
And so it was all about learning how to ground, learning how to align, learning how to clear dense energies. What is really happening here? How do you really connect? And then, the life of a reality TV producer, if you are interviewing people, as you do interviewing people, how do you connect? And so, that really was where I was putting the practice in, not really realizing it. And then, later on, as I was moving through my career and more trauma was coming up, I had a situation where somebody had a moment on set where they hadn't slept in 3 days, exhausted, tired, stressed. It was a pilot show, so there was a lot of pressure. Network was there. And they exploded. They had a rage moment. And I had just been coming on, and I walked in and people were just crying everywhere. Producers were crying everywhere. And as an intuitive empath, somebody who's a frequency feeler, immediately I could feel just all the different stress and trauma. And then I immediately went up, like, how can I help? And the person turned to me and started screaming. And in that moment, I had my first experience of like tactile, tangible, what PTSD was. I disassociated to the point where I couldn't even understand what the person was saying to me. And it was scary on one hand, but on the other hand, I had been in I had been doing meditation and energy work for years since I was a child. So my observer self, my higher self soul came in and my guide team came in, and I was getting direct information on what to do. Meanwhile, my human, it felt like it was broken, like my brain had broken.
Mm,
And it sounded like, if you remember, this might not, everybody might not know this, but remember Peanuts, Charlie
I know.
Brown?
Oh yeah, Peanuts. Yeah.
Remember that cartoon,
Oh,
Peanuts,
for
Charlie
sure.
Brown, Snoopy? And
Yeah.
so there was oftentimes the teacher would come on, or adult, and they would sound like
Wonk
wah
wonk
wah
wonk.
wah wah
Yeah.
wah wah.
Wonk 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 wonk.
That's what it sounded like when this person was speaking to me after I disassociated. And I was like, something happened with my brain. I can feel it. And so the guides, my higher self soul, came in and just said, you need to turn around right now, say you're going to the bathroom. And I was like, what? And just say, I need to go to the bathroom, and turn around. And then my guides moved me as I was saying, I need to go to the bathroom. And so I went to the bathroom, and as I was doing just some breath work and putting my hands underwater, because water can help ground you, I was just getting the information on, don't worry about what you need to do in the future. Just focus on regrounding. And then later on, it really ended up, I studied trauma because I wanted to understand it. I studied more energy modalities. And here we are now in the timing of everything. And it's all the prep work. And so when you were talking about like some of the preparing and things like that, sometimes we think that we're on one path. And meanwhile, the stars align and something shines to a different path. And we've been prepared all along for something greater than we even realize. And I feel like that's kind of where I'm at. And yeah, all the tools that I understand from, not just it's not just, Eastern modalities, it's Western modalities. They have been guided me. I've been studying the brain, the gut health, like everything, and just really layering the tools for this moment. So thank you for asking and bringing it in.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, that's quite a story, and I mean that's common in Hollywood. I think to some degree, like certain egos having explosive, and there's this kind of commandment to just keep moving and pretend like it didn't happen. I've noticed, right? But there's also the high intensity of deliverables and network notes and all that stuff too. I think that creates stress. So, do you think you think that single event created PTSD, that you went into a syndrome for a period that you witnessed, or do you think it had been building up to that point and you were pushed too far?
So I think I had been experiencing a lot of stress and possibly kind of mini tsunamis of PTSD, and it took that greater point to really recognize, you know, something has to change. And where I'm at right now, even though I loved working in television and it was a dream since I was 5 years old. The guides told me when I was 5 years old, you're going to be moving from Massachusetts to California. You're going to be
Hmm.
working in television one day. I grew up in the 80s, late 70s, 80s. And so I thought it was going to be scripted. And
Right,
so, you're just kind of going on your path. And
right.
so that was probably the hardest. And even that's trauma when you really think about it. Career transitioning, even though you've been prepared for something, it's like you have to work with the human. And so that's really that choice point moment for me, and that timing transition moment for me was really powerful, because it was, let's not bypass the human. You're living in a physical reality. And yes, like it feels great to do some of this, spiritual work and having these meditations, but you're living in a physical reality. And in some ways, even though I had been taught so many different tools and I was using them, I wasn't actually caring for the human.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's some of the things that you were talking about. That's kind of where we are now in our transformational experience, shifting. And it's like, then how do you use these tools to not only just help your human, and then also connecting to your higher self soul, to allow yourself to be, you know, be able to make these changes and transformations, so that way you can live in that life that you were talking about, where your dreams are coming in and it's that limitless like possibilities and potential, and you're feeling in that 5D high vibrational way. And that was the other thing too, is I think conceptually 5D was a concept for me before that moment. And I think I also took for
Just switch
granted.
cameras. Yeah. There you go.
There you are. I think I took for granted that in some ways my connection to soul and soul was always embodied. I didn't understand to that point how fracturing can happen. And so it really led me on a huge self-discovery of studying more, not just, energy modalities, but also I've taken a lot of trauma-informed classes as well to understand where we are in society with mental and emotional health.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you feel, going back to the PTSD, and we'll go into depth about your modalities. What do you feel are the symptoms of PTSD? Can someone not even be aware they have it?
Definitely. So the symptoms of PTSD can vary from person to person. Common ones are, re-experiencing the traumatic event, avoidance of reminders or triggers, negative changes in thinking or mood. Also, it could be like increased arousal or hyper arousal. It can also There can also be isolation. You can go into avoidance. It can affect your ability for safety and regulation. You can feel really dysregulated and not safe. And usually those are, if you're hearing somebody say, I feel really anxious, like I don't know, like I'm not safe. I need to go. That could be a sign that you're in some sort of traumatic response, or it could even be some sort of PTSD that has come to surface because, as you pointed out, talking about karma and also talking about present life, past lives. There could also be, if you look at like DNA and epigenetics, there could be trauma that was held in the family lines
Yep.
that then, when you're talking about all these, planets moving around, coming in to help us with this cosmic light energy to support clearing this dense energy, all of a sudden, your great, 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 great grandparent could have had unprocessed PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
for whatever they experienced. And then
Right.
next to know, you wake up and you're like, oh my God, why am I feeling not great? And why am I, and it could have been also a time during, when persecution was happening in a
Mm-hmm.
more forceful way, which then I think I heard you talking about how you feel like you're stepping more into your authenticity, which is you probably had like a huge clearing in regard to some of the false frequencies
Mm-hmm.
relating to old timelines.
Right.
Could be also relating to generational as well,
Mm-hmm.
where then that gets cleared. And then next thing you know, you're online and in sync, and your whole, your emotional frequency levels just uplined on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And so that's where, for me, what I do is it's like the multidimensional work. It's all aspects of, what tools can we use to support. And I also am asking the guides, I like efficiency. I'm like, how can it be the most efficient way? So I'm not, yes, do I like meditating sometimes for a couple hours? Feels great. But if I don't have to, can it be more like efficient and bulk clearing? Because if we're in a present life experience and you have past lives, lineages, or anything else, culturally or collective, there's a lot of components that could come in that could be like even minutely affecting you, but still you could feel that kind of negative dense energy in your system and not feel quite right.
Oh yeah. But I think you're a 29-degree Scorpio, so only you can handle bulk clearing. That's a high cost. That's you're trying to make people run when they can walk. I find that it takes layer after layer after layer after layer after layer after layer, which is the cycle, the cycle, the cycle, the cycle, to get to a place where you can finally get to the very origination of it, like you said, many generations back, or in your case, something happened at age 2, or our case, right? So do you feel when you're in that PTSD moment? I find that a lot of people are blaming energy on the outside of them. Was it energy on the outside of you or energy on the inside of you that caused that breakdown, or both?
That's a really good question. I felt my brain chemistry actually change. It felt like my brain broke, actually. I thought I
Mm-hmm.
broke my human.
Yeah, that sounds
And
like shock.
yeah, there was definitely shock and shock waves
Mm-hmm.
that had to be cleared as well. But then there had to be a rebalancing of the brain, and just some of the neural pathways had to be cleared to then go down new neural pathways. And so that's what, kind of the
Mhm.
work that I did with the various modalities.
Yeah, I think, well, when the brain is shocked, well, the brain gets so stuck in its own, rhythms. And sometimes you need to see something you can't unsee to start thinking differently. It just takes that sort of, hiccup and the giddy up. So from there, you're working in television and reality TV, and then you ended up moving into, how would you describe your practice now? Is it one-on-one sessions mostly? Are you coaching in that regard? I know you have many modalities. We're talking about Reiki and dowsing, but what is your practice?
So I do private sessions, which are Reiki and Dowsing Energy Healing. I combine. I also do mindfulness meditation, and I'm a Kundalini meditation teacher and trauma informed as well. And so I
Mm,
layer all those tools in. And if you were doing a private session with me, the first part would be intuitive, coaching, and then connecting the story dots, bringing in the realization, because it's about, in my work, it's about understanding where are you in your experience. And once you have that realization of like, oh, that needs to be cleared, or, oh, that's what's happening, that aha moment, that awareness, that consciousness comes in, that's
right.
when you can really go in and ask the guides to clear, using also Reiki to clear. And from there, what do you want to shift into? Obviously letting light fill in, shifting into, peace, joy, shifting to 5D if they're ready, and just asking and working with the guides on that way.
Okay. And with Reiki, that's something, is that in person or is that a long distance?
Nope, I do it all. Before the pandemic, I had an office that I did half in the office and then half online on Zoom. And then once the pandemic hit, I just went full time. And so now it's just full time where I do
Wow.
private sessions. And then I also have classes. I do live classes as well as then you get the replays. And that's all on Patreon.
Okay, live classes and helping you out. I mean, with Reiki, it seems to me, for me, it's always been hit and miss, energetically. How do you see it help your clients? Is it help them pass like an emotional difficulty? What's the practicality of it?
So I'll explain the difference between Reiki and dowsing. Reiki is like a good vacuum, where
Oh,
dowsing is like you send out your rugs for a professional cleaning. And it's much more, in my experience, transformational, where you're just doing a clearing that just then, a lot of times people come in saying, I have negative thoughts, they're ruminating, I
mm,
feel so, I'm in anxiety, and, they may be working with a therapist.
mm-hmm.
And sometimes I do work with therapists hand in hand. And
Wow.
so then after a clearing, they'll say like, wow, I can breathe easier, oh my
Mm,
god, the negative thoughts are gone. Wow. And I feel relaxed. I haven't felt relaxed in a long time. And then you become rejuvenated because your life force energy is being rejuvenated. And so I just layer the modalities together, and I just utilize that, and also mindfulness and just the intuitive coaching as well.
so Reiki is rejuvenating, or dowsing is rejuvenating your soul. So it's filling in where you're empty, you're now full, or where you're low vibration, high vibration. I'm just
Exactly.
curious. Okay.
So, because what happens when you clear dense energy? So it's clearing. So what are you going to fill in with it? And that's where, as an empowered creator, you always want to ask, like, letting light fill in for the highest good.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you're not asking and it's just been cleared, then it's empty. So
Waiting to
then
be
if you
filled by
haven't,
something. Yeah.
yeah, if you haven't restructured the mind in terms of working with that mental body, you could easily go back down that pathway, and then you could shift again from, if you're a 5D, you can go down to 4D, 3D. You can even go down to, what people don't realize, you can go down to 2D, 1D as well. Um,
Coma.
it's a really dense energy. And then with dowsing energy healing, so dowsing involves a pendulum,
Mm,
and then you can also measure. So all energy
wow.
is
Yeah.
measurable. And so basically you can use a chart to identify, balance the body's energies. You can tap into the subconscious. You can ask about patterns, programs. You can ask about, what you're talking about in terms of astrology, and how much is this, going to affect me this week. And then if there's anything that's non-beneficial that can be cleared right away, you can ask for it to be cleared. And then you can also ask then, when once it's cleared, you can ask then for it to be more gentle with you in regard to the cosmic energies coming in.
When you say ask them, who are you speaking to precisely?
Spirit guides for highest good. I work with a spirit doctor team for highest good, spirit guide specialist for the highest good, council of light, and also people's higher self souls, working with their higher self souls, their humans, because the human also has like an energy, and then also just working with the higher self souls. I think sometimes in my experience, people assume maybe sometimes their higher self soul's embodied when that's not the case, because if the human, and I'll just say the human just to differentiate, to discern, if the human is really caught in dense energies and has become ungrounded and unaligned and lowered itself to like 3D, 2D, what happens with the soul actually goes up higher. And so the soul could have been in 5D with the human, but the soul will actually keep rising to try to get away from the intrusion energy.
I agree, which is usually what leads to death. Like if you separate too much from yourself for too long, that's when I find that accidents start to manifest.
What can happen is they become kind of like zombie and just really caught in chaotic energies, and could also be in irritability and reaction really easy. That's kind of how you know. And then there's other things can happen too as well.
She leaves us with, clearly an executive producer. We'll be right back after this commercial with other things that mysterious that could happen that she won't tell us about now. So what do you mean? I mean, you've opened the door. So what else can happen? Do you think? Do you think that there are energies out there that are non-beneficial?
Definitely. There can be non-beneficial entities. There's a lot of things that can happen with the human in regard to when the human's in pain and in a traumatic state of desperation of needing help. And so if you're just calling out for help, then there's all kinds of things that can show up, because let's face it, as much as we know, we just don't know. And so that's why then making sure, like language wise, if you're asking for help, making sure like, okay, for the highest good, so that way then the best possible combination can support you. Otherwise, you could have a non-beneficial entity that attaches to your energy field.
Yep.
And then eventually, if you're not, if the body is becoming, I'll just say, if the body's available, then, and you've made a contract, even if it's in a, you've done it in an unconscious way because you needed support and it felt good at the time. Later on, then the entity could eventually, become embodied. And so that's where then with dowsing energy healing, Reiki can do it too, but dowsing is just more powerful. With dowsing, you can clear the non-beneficial entities and any kind of residual energies, as well as non-beneficial cords or anything like that, to bring the body, back into optimum health in terms of energy, and all the bodies, in sync and in balance once again.
And how does dowsing work precisely? Can you show us?
Yeah. Do you want to do a quick little session?
Yeah, as long as I can stay private.
Yes, you can. So, what I'll do, I'll some of the information that you brought forward, I'm going to use some of that because I was taking notes.
Okay. Awesome.
And so, because you mentioned about having this week was going to be like I think you were saying like an emotional tidal wave.
Yeah, I think there'll be some sort of a tidal wave. I mean, it could be just gawking at something we've seen, like an accident on the road. Like, I can't believe I saw that, but it's enough emotional. When I say tidal wave, I mean to get you off the couch. Like get you engaged, where suddenly you've been watching and then you've just suddenly had enough.
Okay. So I'm going to have you close your eyes or lower your gaze if you wish, and take 3 deep breaths. Breathing in life force energy. Breathing out what no longer supports you. Breathing in life force energy. Breathing out what no longer supports you. Following your breath in, following your breath out. And then you want to start to shift from your head to your heart. And if it helps, let yourself see a beautiful light staircase and start to shift from your head to your heart, going down into your heart space. And then once you're there, let yourself take another deep breath, feeling the gratitude of being here in this human experience, in this physical world, giving yourself a lot of love and gratitude. I'm grateful for naming 3 things you're grateful for about yourself. You can do that quietly. And then setting your intentions, whatever they are. You want to feel your intentions from your heart and then project them out from your third eye. And then connecting into this intention if it resonates with you. I'm willing to receive Reiki and Dowsing Energy healing for my highest good in the gentlest way possible. I'm willing to receive Reiki and Dowsing Energy healing for my highest good in the gentlest way possible. And then let yourself see, sense, imagine, visualize, or be in knowingness that you're outside on a path. Once you have shifted from your head to your heart, then you ground and align. So let yourself see yourself on a path, feeling the connection to Mother Earth, feeling the gratitude that she kindly houses us in her being. As you're walking on this path, letting yourself continue to follow your breath in, follow your breath out, becoming more grounded, more aligned, more relaxed. And we're just going to ask that if anything's blocking your grounding, asking it for it to be cleared. If your earth, if you need to be retethered to your earth chakra, asking that in permission with the Mother Earth, as well as with you, to retether. And then asking for the beneficial cord from your head to your star chakra, bringing you into full groundedness and alignment, and asking that any updates, activations, codes that are beneficial for you to allow you to receive them with ease and grace, harmony for the highest good. As you're continuing to walk on this path, you might notice that your shoulders are going back. You might already feel more relaxed, more rejuvenated. Now that you've shifted from your head to your heart and grounded and aligned, then you bring your energy up. So if it helps, let yourself see a white light elevator. Let yourself get in. The elevator doors close. It begins to go up, up, up. You bring your energy up, up, up. 3D to 4D to 5D. Bring your energy up, 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 up. The elevator doors open. And you step out. And you're in your quantum sacred space where there's healing frequencies. Connecting to your higher self soul, your spirit guide team for the highest good is there. And now we're going to start the dowsing. Spirit world, spirit guide, spirit doctor team, spirit legal team, divine beings, council of light here for our highest good. Ask you to take any and all help necessary to clear and remove all the non-beneficial energies, frequencies, vibrations, negative energies, frequencies, vibrations, non-beneficial programs, negative patterns, implants, devices in general, plus clear and remove any trauma, PTSD in general, as well as from the pandemic or from past lives or anything in maternal and paternal lineages. and everything that Christopher talked about in terms of if there's anything that can be cleared regarding emotional tidal waves, emotional buildup, any tension, the shock waves, clear and remove it. If there's any blockage to anybody's emotional body, asking to clear and remove it if it's possible. And if there's anything blocking anyone's ability for empowered creator, if there's anything blocking one's authentic self, clear all the false frequencies that can be cleared. And do a full clearing on the chakras, meridians, nadis, and the bodies. In regard to when he was talking about the third eye, setting the structure for the crystalline, anything that's blocking that ability. And if anybody else resonated to when he was speaking about, even though he's in his purpose, but slightly noticing that he was maybe a bit hiding, clear and remove all of that. Clear and remove anything that's blocking somebody from stepping into their authentic path. Clear whoever has the dense energy in their throat chakra, the tension behind their neck, on their right shoulder, their left knee, their lower back. Clear and remove the lack, limitation, poverty, power mindset. Clear and remove the powerlessness from the stomach, the anxiety from the stomach. Clear and remove in terms of moving into this week, in terms of it possibly being a heavy week. Clear and remove as much heaviness that can be removed, all the dense energies. Clear and remove any kind of emotional security. Clear anything that's blocking balanced emotions. Clear all that tidal wave, the shock waves. Clear anything that's blocking stability, groundedness in general, as well as in terms of the plan and where one's going when Christopher was talking about that. And clear and remove when he was also talking about letting go of the revenge business. If there's anyone who's holding on to old earth, clear and remove that. And if it's blocking them from going into the calm, clear and remove that. Clear and remove any kind of heart wounds that can be cleared, clear trapped emotions, clear if we can clear any heart walls, if it's beneficial. Clear when he was talking about the root chakra and creation, clear anything that's blocking the root chakra and also moving into that creation. And the storylines, the non-beneficial timelines of old earth in regard to emotionally addicted to drama, chaos, petty, jealousy emotions, clear and remove all of that. Clear anything is blocking when he was talking about being able to find new kicks other than low vibrations. Do a full clearing on all the lower vibrations, past lives, present life, generational trauma from the collective, any conditioning that can be cleared. Clear and remove it. And that clear and remove the sabotage he was talking about, the mind virus. Clear and remove all the aspects in terms of related to karma that can be cleared. Clear any kind of emotional codependency when he was talking about regarding society. And any kind of non-beneficial cords or attachment or trauma from it. Clear anything that's blocking nervous system regulation. And do a full clearing on in regard to if somebody desires to go more out in the world, but they're feeling like they're getting emotionally manipulated. Clear the emotional manipulation, the gaslighting. Clear and remove all of that right now. And anything else that he was speaking about that can be cleared, asking to be cleared right now for the highest good. And thank you. And clear and remove also from present life, previous lives, and lives, past lives. Do a full clearing on the maternal and paternal lineages. Clear and remove also from the individual energy field, the ancestral energy field. Clear it from also the collective. Clear and remove anything blocking revitalization, especially regarding the nervous system. Clear and remove that dense energy on whoever has the tension on their chest. Clear and remove that. Clear and remove that. Do that right now in gratitude. And Spirit World, Spirit Guides, Spirit Director Team, Spirit Legal Team, Divine Beings, here for us good. I ask you to take any help necessary to clear and remove all of that and anything else that would be beneficial to clear and remove it. Clear all negative energies, frequencies, vibrations, any harmful, non-beneficial energies, frequencies, vibrations, patterns, programs, Alzheimer programs, non-beneficial subconscious programs, limited beliefs, non-beneficial thought forms, negative thoughts, all miasms, ills and conditions. Clear and remove it. Ask you to clear and remove all of this right now with everything they've created and co-created, all planes, all dimensions, from past lives, previous and lives, present life, past and future. Ask you to banish the spirits, deact life force, garment frequency, neutralize the energy of all that is removed and cleared, to send it all over to the side, to spirit realm, to be transformed and transmuted, to never return again due to harm. May this be done now for the highest good of all and the gentlest possible. And gratitude, thank you. And spirit well, spirit guides, spirit doctor team, spirit legal team, divine beings, here for highest good. I ask that you heal all the trauma, close all the cracks. I ask for all parts of self, soul, and reality that truthfully belong there brought back for the highest good, to bring back anything else that couldn't be there, that couldn't emerge because what has been removed, but truthfully belongs back to whomever it belongs to bring it back from where it be, bring it back from wherever it be, in gratitude, to bring it to the ideal energy, frequency, and vibration, to reintegrate it, transformed and transmuted in the ideal manner, ideal place, space, room, with the power of love and light. Ask to give each person or the place all the information they need in order to integrate all that's coming back easily into their lives. May this be done now for the highest good of all and the gentlest positive guide. Thank you. And strengthen the living multi-dimensional filter light, triple light protection in around each person in gratitude, and ask that you let light fill all spaces the highest good, bringing in joy, peace, harmony, groundedness, alignment, shifting from 3D, 5D or higher if it's possible for the highest good, and resetting the new nervous system, calling in and re-embodying and reconnecting soul to human and reground, realign if it's possible, and balance all the chakras, meridians, nadis, bodies for the highest good. Thank you. And with that, before we end, we always want to de-link. So then we just say, you can repeat after me to yourself. If it resonates, I ask to break the links with this energy session. I ask to break the links, leaving only harmony and balance at either ends. I also ask to clear any residual energies being held in my body. I ask that light fills all the void cells, rejuvenates, refreshes, revitalizes for the highest good with ease and grace and gratitude. And take a nice deep breath, giving yourself gratitude for showing up. Thank you for the guides. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the tools. See how you're feeling. Maybe you feel lighter or grounded. And welcome back.
That was wow. I want to make a joke, but I mean that was about like a deep teeth cleaning, like a deep karmic clearing. I think it reminded me of pharmaceutical commercials, like it may cause robatitis. Like it was just like constant, like you were just like giving me all the lingo. Like it was like a very thorough spiritual legal document that point by point is like taking away the power of everything that could be leeching, it sounds like. And so from what you've just demonstrated, it's a commandment in gratitude, it seems like, to higher, to beings in higher self. Is that how you describe it?
Well, you make yourself a clear channel and you're working with the guides to clear. And so like, when we were doing this, like I was seeing different things clearing, and I could feel sometimes somebody had some nervousness. So then I would ask for that to be clear because I'm an intuitive empath.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I would see past lives and I could see them being cleared.
Gotcha. So you went into specific, like, oh, I see a lifetime where you're burning a witch, clear, clear, clear.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I don't give all the information because it's just, you just don't need all the information. It's just about resetting the human and rejuvenating and regrounding.
Right.
So it's a really deep clearing, and oftentimes you do work with the cosmic energies because it is, as it's coming in, and so it's supporting us in the clearing. And so then it's about making yourself a clear channel, anchoring the light, and being able to anchor the light. And then with that, setting the intention when you were talking about the commandment, because you are then, as an empowered creator, you're then asking for the clearing, and you're doing it in a vibrational frequency in connection to the universe, in support with the guides, and the guides are coming in and clearing, because we have free will. So as you know, since we have free will, only in emergency situations can sometimes guides step in. But if you are working with somebody, or everyone has the ability to be an energy alchemist, because we all are. But it's just learning how to be able to clear channel and make your shifting to 5D or higher, to then be able to anchor the light, to ask for it to clear and work with the guides in that way.
So have you experienced 5D? I mean, how would you describe these levels?
Yeah. So I mean, well, first of all, you can actually go up even more at times when things are coming in, when the human is really caught in agitation of the dense energy. So the human body will go up even higher,
Mm,
but 5D is really where the human and the soul. It's really conducive to where Earth is. So that's like the natural navigation point now. But because of there's so much clearing work, yeah, you can go up and down. I mean, I could go to bed and feel like I'm completely embodied with soul and in 5D, and the next morning I'll wake up and I'm like, why am I in agitation? And I could
mhm,
have dropped down to, 3D. And so that's
mhm.
where then it's like, okay, what's happening here? What's calling to be cleared? And
Got you.
for anybody that doesn't know, 3D is refers in terms of the third dimensional realm of like the duality, where things that you see in terms of energy as, physical matter, like the house, the tree, the animal. But in context, you might be caught in that this is the only reality, which then can block your consciousness for understanding. And
Mm,
then fourth dimension of consciousness is really then when you start to have the awakenings, when you're like, "Oh, wait, there's something wait, we're multidimensional? Like, wow." And time is no longer linear in fourth dimension. There's an ongoing sense of like, present time. And then fifth dimension is just a whole nother experience where you're really in that more embodiment of, love and peace. And for me, it's really the peace. Like when I first shifted to 5D, I was like, whatever that is, I'll have more of that because the level of peace that I felt, it was like tangible peace.
mhm.
And after going through so much trauma and in work PTSD, that peace was like, sign me up for that, please. How do I understand it? So, but what about you? How do you define it, and have you also experienced it as well?
I do see 3D as the rocking back and forth between the polarities, constantly like a bowling ball getting caught in a gutter from one gutter to another, like extreme highs and sometimes lower lows. Um, I feel like we went to 5D at Unite the Light because there was just this glow in my heart. Like I was at Disneyland as a kid. I was just happy to be alive, genuinely, authentically, without any doubts or lack of confidence whatsoever. It was very like childlike in an adult's body, kind of, and playful. And I thought maybe this is what 5D is, like these moments. Like when if you watch a comedy and you laugh like for a full hour, I feel like you're touching base with 5D there a lot. In those moments where you're losing space time and you're in just complete joy, which is our brand. Serious joy is the I'm realizing is 5D is what we're talking about. But it's I'm talking to other people like yourself who are on the on the fringes of making that breakthrough. I think as light workers, that's what we're here to do, is to climb that ladder and then turn around and help people up, right? To or help people climb on their own, whatever. But so we're just starting to see now. I mean, how do you? You do have a podcast, and it talks about the energy of the week. Are you pick? How is you read? How are you reading energies? Is it psychic? It's called the Inspiring You Show.
Thank you. Yeah. So in my meditations, I'll get downloads of information, and usually the themes usually come the month before. So you were talking about the heart, the love, and we're actually in a heart energy focus space now in terms of love and the heart. And so the month before, I just had several moments where lessons were coming in, and I was like, what is happening here? And I'm like, oh, this is going to be one of the themes. And then another one of the themes of the month is, and I think you touched upon it in a different way. I talk about support, how you receive support, how you
Yeah,
deny support, how you
yeah.
reject support. And
Hmm.
how I knew that was coming in was because a couple weeks ago, my dad passed on 4 years ago, and he comes in at times giving me just really beautiful, inspiring messages. And I love that. Yeah, please give me the flowery messages. But I got really upset with my dad. I was like, Dad, like, where are you? Like, we got some problems here. We got some stuff in our family that, hello, that was inherited. how are you showing up? And I realized, I'm like, oh, I can ask him for a different type of support. And it really just never dawned. Like, I asked my guides for things, but I never, since my dad has passed, like, I'm just like in the, oh, it's so nice to see you. I had like a block that I could actually ask him for support in a different way. And so then that's how I started meditating, like, oh, wait, what is my relationship with support? And then as you were talking about it, I don't always have like the language per se in terms of your knowledge of astrology, but because I'm a highly sensitive to the cosmic energies.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times the guys will flash things in to connect the dots. And
Mm-hmm.
so then I understand, like, oh, that's the connection point. But you were saying it so beautifully. And I was like, oh, that's what they were talking about with me. And one of the themes is support. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I think sometimes, maybe too, as a light worker or way shower, sometimes you can become imbalanced in your giving and receiving,
Oh
and
yeah.
how you actually your support. Like, how
Well,
are you feeling
receiving comes with
supported?
strings.
What was that?
Receiving comes with strings in our
That's
position.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and so it's complicated. So it's like you want to receive, but a lot of people are giving for the purpose of. And so it's a complicated boundary structure there to take it, but not take the other things being offered, but that was because I was raised that way with a father that whenever he gave, he was taking two things for the one give, right? Like it was all kind of hidden, kind of like a magician. So, but I've realized receiving is a huge thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to receive and open up and accept things. But you got to receive to ascend.
Yeah. So
You got
when
to
you
receive the
were,
Lord. You got to receive the light. You got to,
I know, right? Otherwise, you're rejecting the light. Which, by the way,
right.
if you're doing a clearing and you're rejecting the light, what do you think is going to end up coming in there?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right?
I had an issue where I wasn't rejecting God, but I was like, I'll do it. Like, I'll show you I can do it. I don't know why I was trying to prove to God. I woke up at probably around 44 or 45. I'm like, why am I trying to prove to God that I'm a good boy? Like, but it was interesting, but I was stubborn. I wouldn't receive. I want to do it myself. And I'm like, why am I doing that? I'm making it harder.
Is that anything from family, you think, in terms of how you were raised?
Oh, 100%. But also my multi-lifetime story, I think, with Earth, which landed me in that family. You know what I mean? Like in the first place, it's where I'm at with my relationship to Earth altogether, right? And how I bounce off of Earth. I'm now willing to open up and dance a little bit more.
How do you look at your relationship with Earth now?
Well, I mean, I love my relationship to Earth. I think it's always been exceptional in every lifetime, to be honest. Like, I think I have the most, I definitely take more advantage of it than I think most people do. I know how she works, and I've worked with her for a long time. But there's also when mother is tense, so is son. I'm emotionally a little codependent, which is why I do better here in Denver, a mile high above the energies. Cause it's just like, whoo, I get down in those rides. I'm riding all the vibrations with everyone. And it's a rough ride.
Yeah. So what tools do you use to help yourself in terms of your grounding and alignment and shifting?
For me, I personally am now I'm on your podcast. I personally am I will chant. I have a Buddhist chant. I walk. I have to be in motion. I'm a net 9. So I have to get my energy moving for me to come out of a funk, right? I have to take walks between readings or sessions just to like ground, shake it off, reboot. But if I want to go really high, I have a chant that I do that brings me into like, oh, and I can go back and just recharge like that. My heart just lights up and come back online. I'm pretty much online most of the time, but my body takes a lot of hits. And so I'm learning how to, because I come from past lives of being a soldier where I threw away my body and I put my life on the line. I'm so quick to put my life on the line. It's like an instinct, my body, I'll just do it. Like, we can do it. We can do a 36-hour day, so, that's everything. So I'm learning more. Actually, the human part is the harder part for me.
That's the work PTSD too.
Yeah.
The collective patterning of work PTSD.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I put myself through that. I mean, I think past life wounds drive us to an insane like what were you going after in television that made you tolerate? Because I rode the television bull too for a long time, and then steered off on the internet as soon as you could stream video. But but I was driven to change the world. Like I had to, so I was tolerating, like, this is worth it. I'll take that punch. I'll take this punch.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do a 15-hour day. I'll do it. Like, that's what makes me different than the rest, was what I told myself. What kept you in the punish bin?
I think it's the same thing we were talking about, where I didn't really, I didn't have a consciousness or understanding at the time of the patriarchal energies, and the understanding. I didn't have the understanding of gaslighting energy, to be honest, or how that energy can be so intense that it pulls you in, and then you're in this kind of mob mentality with it. And then, like you said, with TV, it becomes like you're so goal oriented, and it's a kind of this brainwashing where, we can do it, and we can work 7 days a week and 18-hour days, and it becomes like, you're striving for something, but it's also all old earth. It's the
Yeah.
competition. We can do this. It's that, even when you're talking about the military aspect of it, past lives where you were soldiers, you're marching to orders.
Yep.
And so I kept looking for, the communities that we work together in collaboration, because TV is also very collaborative, but yet
Right.
halfway through the energy would change, and it would feel very destructive and chaos, where
Right.
the complaining energy, everyone was tired. And I'm like, what is happening? But it was kind of like the old earth, just keep recycling the pattern. And I had to experience it to understand what is happening here. Because in order for, like, what I do to actually be able to be the clear channel and anchor, I have to have a consciousness on it in connection to my human. And so once I got that, like, oh, it's the energy structure happening here, that's what is being called to be cleared. And once that did, my time in television was really then complete, and I was able to shift out. But that being said, though, with the human, it wasn't easy to shift out. I kind of went kicking and screaming, because I was like, what do you mean? I'm on top of the mountain now. I climbed
Right.
Everest.
I was going to ask you, I was going to say, yeah. How do you step away from that? I'd have a hard time. That's the hardest thing to do, is when you're at the top and you beat what everyone says is impossible. But I found that Hollywood was very possible if you would slave yourself and sacrifice yourself.
Enslavement, by the way, persecution. Listen to the words you're using.
It is, and I agree to it. I voluntarily walked into that prison, so it's interesting how that works. But it was also for the, for one thing about LA and that whole West Coast, to me, it's like the sun is always setting. So it's always about tomorrow, one day, tomorrow. So you're kind of living in the future on West Coast. I find, if you find yourself drawn to West Coast anywhere, you're living in the, you're living in the future. And, and if you're on the East Coast, you're living for yesterday, like you're preserving the yesterday. There's something about the sun's position. So I think everyone on the West Coast is not really, grounded in today, that sets up for a lot of interesting chaos and also creative genius. To be honest, it's interesting. It's plus and minuses.
Absolutely. I think too, one of the benefits when I worked in television was really learning that anything is possible. I mean, when you hear about, like, talking about the universe and its, limitless possibility, what does that mean in the tangible? Those are just words. And working in reality television, that's what we'd have to do again and again, because we didn't have the budgets that scripted TV did. And we were really looked down upon, and we were really persecuted in a lot of ways, but we were like, we're going to make something, we're going to do it. And to be able to create something in some ways against all odds, where you're working with the universe, like, I don't know how this is going to happen, but we're going to call in the intentions to do. And then all of a sudden it magically unfolds. You're like, wow, this is amazing. And that's really part of why I loved it. And I really learned about that physical aspect of the tangible in reality. But going back to what you're saying about the persecution, the enslavement, I didn't know how enslaved or persecuted that I was in until I really had that work PTSD moment. And then from there, I knew that I needed to leave for my human, but I also was really hard because I was an executive producer at that time. I was show running, and and I had an agent and, all the things. But once once that happened and I disassociated, I was like, done. Like, I'm done. I had a conversation that day with a producer that I don't even remember this conversation. She told me later, but I said to her, I'm done. I'm done treating myself, like a jerk. Every time I take
Mm.
a show like this, I am treating myself terribly. I said, I'm
Mm-hmm.
done. And that was the last show. I still interviewed for shows because I couldn't,
Yeah, it's hard.
it's
It affects
hard.
you.
It's kind of like you probably when you're doing astrological readings where you're giving people information, but even though like you're giving the information, you still have to work with the human. And there might be that change point that's being called for you. It could be this week, but your human might not be ready for it for whatever reason for like 3 months. And so
Right.
it took me a good like, probably like 6 months to really stop interviewing in television and to let my it might have even been a year with my agent, to be honest.
Mm.
Even though I was literally actively career transitioning. And every time I went for a job interview, I would get like 3 new like energy clients. Like the universe could not be the
More
universe is
obvious.
like, this is the path you're on.
Mm-hmm.
And before I'd always, I usually would get some sort of offer for a show and I wasn't getting offers anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
my agent was like, this is so weird. I don't understand what's
Mm-hmm.
happening. And then I would come home and I would have like 3 new energy clients.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't like, let me just listen to the universe. I was like, what is happening? Why?
Right.
I
Well,
went up
it's
that
really
mountain.
hard when you're driven and talented and you're magic and suddenly God's like, nope, not anymore. And you're like, what? You're like, wait, what happened? Like I had the same thing. When you're really strong and determined, God has to really steamroll you to get off that path is what I noticed. Cause we're determined. And so we don't take no for an answer. And so I remember I was 4 months without work, like 3.5 months out of work. I had eased up to all my savings. TV was not hiring me back. I was just like, I think I'm being forced into some other career, but I can't even imagine what that would be at the time. And it turned out to be an internet job, which I saw as like, I'm at the bottom now. I've crashed. I'm minimum wage, and then I rode that internet, like suddenly I was an executive of that internet company in like 6 months. I was promoted. And I was just like, oh, and then I, of course, I have the idea like, oh, I'm going to combine internet with TV. I'm going to do video horoscopes. So the point is like, sometimes the universe is giving you very clear signs. Very clear, but stubbornness, determination, things that are good things like strength are actually in the way, is what I've learned. And that's the opening up and yielding part that I'm learning.
Yeah. And that's where like in dowsing or in any energy modality, you can ask to clear the non-beneficial aspect of like stubbornness. And you can then ask to continue like maintaining the beneficial aspects because that stubbornness is probably also like how you're able to figure things out and think outside of the box.
True.
And
Right.
it can be really helpful to you. And so then asking to clear, just the negative side of it. So that way you can be in your transformation and can be it much easier. Yeah. But it was hard. And when you were speaking about the internet though, and making that transition, I totally understand what you're saying because in television at that time, some people were looking down upon internet and
Oh yeah.
YouTube and
Oh yeah.
social media produces. What is that?
Right. No, totally. Yeah. It was, that was where it was.
And now
I
here we
saw
all
what it
are.
would be.
Unity consciousness.
Yeah. No, I saw, I mean, I am a visionary and I saw very early on and I was like, I'm getting off now. Before everyone figures it out. But when I would tell people, I mean, it's a double whammy. It's like, I'm a YouTube star. What's that? I'm an astrologer. What's that? Like, it's like, oh man, but I am paying my alimony. You know what I mean? Like I'm paying the bills, but many times I'd, just to like help people out here who are making the leap, because first of all, I think a lot of people in Hollywood in particular are making the leap. But I also feel there's going to be a resurgence of spiritual entertainment. I feel there's going to be a spiritual Hollywood that's breaking free here any second now. So you might spin right back to where you were in a different way, just to make a prediction right here on the air.
Yeah. I've already actually been getting signs and that's interesting that you say that.
Well, and I'm here to sort of like push that narrative. Because I mean, at the moment, like Hollywood's become a vacuum. There's no light on television. There's no comedy or whatever. It's like, you made it easy to make a hit. And everyone watches Netflix. They're already streaming TV anyway. So it's like, honestly, this is a moment. But I agree with you. I think the creative collaboration is such a high. There's nothing greater than that. And that's what drew me to it. And I feel like we're moving to that regardless, society's moving to that regardless of television. Like, what are you feeling about the future? What are you picking up about the future in the next 6 months, particularly with the election? I mean, I don't ask you to predict a winner. I just mean what we're going through as a nation, as a world.
I think that when you were talking about it, that's very similar to what I've been getting. And a big part of this is us shifting, from a lot of people shifting from the non-ascending timeline to the ascending timeline. And
Yeah.
we just had, we just had a huge shifting where more people shifted to the ascending timeline. And so with that comes then just more awareness and awakeness. So we had that shift a couple of weeks ago, which then now in the US, we're having different talks now about the election.
Right.
So
Yep.
it kind of goes along with what's been happening in terms of the cosmic energies coming in and the shifting of timelines where there's a waking up. And then obviously we're moving towards, unity consciousness. But in regard to moving towards that, we still have to clear a lot of the dustbins. We're not, I think sometimes people like to think like, oh, we're living in New Earth or I'm 5Ding. Yeah, we're not there yet. You can be going up and down, and it's really about us healing the division and learning new ways, not only individually but collaboratively. And
Hmm.
then also learning that being different isn't like bad, that we can still be in communities together regardless of our differences,
Yeah.
because we actually have more in common than not. And so
Hmm.
it's learning how to, really live with one another. And then also utilizing, we were talking about Earth, utilizing the resources differently, because as you probably understand too, Mother Earth has shifted to 5D. And just imagine, her own being, what it's been going through all these years, just in my lifetime. I'm
Yep.
just like, how many bruises does Mother Earth have on her body for what we're doing here?
Yeah.
And so her really calling for a higher experience. And so that's, I feel very similar to what you're in terms of what we're moving. I don't really know the end result. I just know that the entanglements that we've been in, the old guard, if you will, is no longer working. And, a big call for shifting is being brought in. And with that, there's going to be some, difficult, challenging chaos energies to come in, because
Yeah.
people really want to hold on, especially if you're in certain positions, you really want to hold on to that positioning. And so they're really fighting for that. But
Yeah.
essentially, with all these cosmic energies that you're talking about, that's why they're coming in, because so strongly, one after another, to really clear out the dense energy so people can wake up. So those shock waves you're talking about,
Yeah.
those tidal waves,
Yeah.
when you have that moment of like, what is happening? And you go to your traditional doctor and they're like, nothing's wrong with you.
Right.
It's like, well, no, but I feel it. And then you're like, wait, what's really going on here? And you start stepping into your multidimensional aspect. That's
Yeah.
when this waking up. And then that's when it starts, just expanding in terms of consciousness.
I've seen people really awakening, in particular since March. I mean,
Mm.
a real shift, and the planets showed that as well. It's really nice to see. When I was getting in front of people on these events that I've been going to, people are awake and aware of everything. That at least who are coming, and even people who disagree with me politically or are still agreeing. Like, yeah, this is not cool. So there's a collective aha moment, I think, about to happen. And I'm very curious to see how things unfold. Do you feel like society separates into two versions, or do you feel like we come together and heal?
And moving forward,
Yeah, yeah. Because there's this talk where we separate into high and low vibration societies.
well, that's
There's
what they're
that's
talking
one
about
theory.
with
That's one.
the ascending and the non-ascending timeline. Like people are
Yeah,
like it's before the ascending and the non-ascending timelines were closer, kind of like in one building.
yeah,
And now with the lights coming in, cosmic light coming in, they've switched. So it's like, say the ascending timeline is, in the West Coast, and the non-ascending is like in Europe. They've just completely switched. But that being said, we're one Earth. I mean, you people, like, no matter how much you're talking about, these aspects, we are literally living in one body. as a society.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if we're moving towards unity consciousness, it's like, I feel like that's my hope. Because again, also in dowsing, people have choices. You can maybe choosing to be on the non-ascending timeline right now for whatever reason, maybe because it feels comfortable, but then who knows, maybe next week you're going to choose to shift, or maybe you're going to go to the ascending and shift to the non-ascending because you're like, wait, I got to try them out. It's not
Right.
right, wrong, good or bad. There's an isness. And as empowered creators, we're just here to experience different things. And
Hmm.
there could be somebody who you would think is like the most unenlightened person in the human experience, where you're like, there's no way. Meanwhile, you douse and ask where their soul is. Their soul could be like in one of the highest, like, angelic light being realms. And
Hmm.
for whatever reason, I
They've
don't know,
chosen to, yeah.
they wanted to experience really negative energy, and just bringing that around. And maybe because they're choosing to do that, somebody else, it wakens up their sensitivities, like, what is that? And then you're like, oh my God, that's negative energy. I felt negative energy. And they're really doing us a huge service,
Right.
even though it's really uncomfortable for them. They're
Right.
doing us a huge service because they're allowing other people to wake up to understand what energy is, and that they're literally an energy alchemist. And that
Yeah.
if somebody is in a low vibration, you can just shift to a higher vibration. You can still be in the same room with them. You can still have a relationship. You just
Right.
learn how to manage the energies.
Okay. I kind of feel that's the way it's going too. And I'm finding that there's a mutual acceptance of that separation now, an agreement to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I'm just starting to see in little places. I mean, just in the hot topics of politics or whatever. So I'm seeing that in that direction. It's interesting. So with career coaching, I just want to be able to touch on this. A part of what you do. This is something that you do as well, because you don't find many enlightened career coaches.
At this point, I think it's any aspect of humaning, and I call it
It's like,
humaning.
right.
Any
Okay.
aspect of humaning. What are we working on here? And so you just bring in, and also because I had, in terms of my career, becoming a television producer and understanding systems and workflows. So it's like, whatever you need to be coached on, let's see if we can get the intuitive information to support you and then help you. And, it could be, there's a lot of times it comes down to mindset, learning to
Hmm.
reframe, shifting into growth mindset. And, you talked about chanting meditations. Chanting meditations are probably if you need to regulate your system, chanting
Yeah.
meditations are probably one of the best ways to regulate your system.
Yeah.
Mindfulness meditation is great, but if you're really caught in the spinning of the mind, chanting is going to help you, because you're going to be
Yeah.
able to shift to a higher vibrational frequency because of
Hmm.
the frequency of the chanting. So
And you give the lower mind a task. Is what I
exactly.
find. It's for me, because I have a grand trine in air, so I can just go too far. So if my lower mind is like kind of like constantly doing something, then I can suddenly, the other part of my mind can rise. I've noticed. But there's also something vibrational that just sort of like soothes me.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling my whole chest echo that vibration over and over again. It's basically like an energetic rocking of the baby.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I totally agree. I remember when I first did my first chanting at a Kundalini Yoga studio in Los Angeles. When I came out, I was like, oh my God, I don't know what just happened to me, but I feel amazing. And it
Yes.
was all like the chanting. I was like, this is
Yeah.
incredible, which I will say, I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 12 years, and
Wow.
chanting was new to me. And I was like, am I supposed to do this? Can I do this?
Right. This is kind of weird. Yeah.
And I think my first chanting was at a Buddhist with some Buddhist monks. And I'm like, I'm not sure I'm allowed. And then I
As
was
a
like, why
Catholic.
am I not allowed?
Oh,
And I
in
was like,
their
oh,
church or yeah.
just the religious dogma, the indoctrination that had to be cleared. And then I was like,
Oh,
wait, I
gotcha.
am free to do it.
Yeah. And the Buddhists are very wise in that sense, in the sense of like, come on in, like they have no judgment on that regard.
Hmm.
But there's also, I found, like not a very high-minded God connection either in Buddhist. Buddhist is more like peaceful tranquility with this existence.
Hmm.
But what about that existence? It's like,
Yeah.
worry about the now, says the Buddha. So I found I had to like pick and choose from all sorts of different philosophies and religions to find that sort of sorbet of connectivity, which seems like
Potpourri.
what you've done as well. Sounds like
Mhm.
you sort of pick and choose. Do you think you're picking and choosing from past lives, talents that you had?
Definitely. And then I also think just being guided, it's interesting that you were just talking about, I did 2 years of mindfulness meditation training with Tara Brach and Jack Kornfield.
Hmm.
And there was a lot of Buddhist teachings in there. And what you described is some of the experience I had where I was like, oh, this is interesting. And but now I don't know if you find how connected you are to the Buddhist communities. Do you find that they're actually, evolving differently or?
I have been not disconnected. I've been disconnected from the communities themselves because we were only connecting on that level,
Mm.
like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I was grateful because I was needing to come down to earth at the time. And I found Buddhism at age 19.
Mm.
So it was a past life, reintroduction. I think honestly, and I don't remember I heard this, but there's a rumor that Jesus went around through India and studied
Mhm.
as well, right? And I feel like Buddhism is what prepares you to pray. Like I feel like it's
Mhm.
a yoga. Buddhism sets you your humanness ready to go to your higher self. To me, they are all pieces of an important puzzle that work to bring us into our divine awareness, right?
Mhm. Do you
Yeah.
know with what past life, do you know more details on it?
I know that I was a Buddhist in Japan, and I know that my son was my son now was my older brother, who was a monk, and so there was a lot of pressure for me to be a monk, but I didn't.
Mhm.
So I know it was a big part of my life, and I resonated with it for a long time. I have different images of it, and funny enough, when I'd be chanting, those images would come up a lot of times,
Mhm.
those past lives. So there's something about the chant itself that was transdimensional for me, and it
So,
is.
can I share something?
Yeah,
So, Jesus is actually one of my guides since I was a
cool.
child, and he was just telling me that in past life when he was going around, you were there and you had conversations with him where you were
Wow.
talking about, I know, I'm just going to get emotional. You were talking about where you were coming from and where he was coming from.
Hmm.
And you had like he's saying that it was just like it was just a pure light consciousness talk.
Hmm. That's funny. You just outed me. I've never shared anything like that with people. I do have
Sorry.
memories. I don't think it was another life though. He wasn't Jesus that life. It was that soul, but
He was
it was,
Jesus that life.
or was that, it was Jesus, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's it.
interesting.
I have memories. I think there was another life too where I worked
And
that
then do
soul.
you personally ever work with him or Buddha?
Yes, he comes in. He's given me a sitcom to produce.
Okay.
Jesus
But
has.
it's interesting that
Seriously.
you're like, well, I can't, it couldn't have been Jesus in that life.
Oh, I think I'm trying to stay humble.
But
I
this
mean, I
isn't about
remember, I
humble.
do
It's
have a
just
memory of
really,
him Jesus walking down the street. I have a memory of Jesus walking down the street. I think there's some repression there because what happened was I later fought in the name of Christ and killed in the name of Christ. And so my
there
relationship
was
with Jesus got
persecution.
scarred
Yeah.
because I felt bad for, no, I was a, Knights Templar, but I was still killing in the name of Christ. So it's like,
Yeah.
so I was on Christ's side, but killing on Christ's side.
That
And
was in
that,
another lifetime though.
yes, it was
Yeah.
much later. So
In
I'm just
this
saying,
lifetime, you were in, it was like pure spirituality, they were saying.
yeah,
So
with,
where
well,
you're able to meditate and go to, it's from that past life that you're able to
the connection that
remember
we
the
made.
frequency of it.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm
Yeah.
called my name Christopher. Like I
Oh,
named, yeah. So I named myself
mm,
after him. Yeah, for sure. Like has been the plan.
amazing.
Well, he's the greatest light worker of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, Buddha, sorry. But he is a star. He's very unique energetically,
When I was going to Catholic school, the priests and the nuns, the teachers would be talking about, we'd be in religion class and they would be saying things. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel right. And then I would ask him, like, what really happened? And it was just a really interesting experience of like, wow, in regard to storytelling and then hearing just different aspects that may or may not have lined up.
Right.
Yeah. But he's the one who's really been, he was my first as a kid.
And
My
how did
dad,
you know? Like, how did you handle that as a kid with your parents? I mean, hey, I talked to Jesus this morning when I was playing with my dolls.
well, you don't, well, first of all, I'd never said anything like that in Catholic school.
Right.
I would have been thrown out and
How dare you?
persecuted.
Who do you think you are?
Who
Yeah.
do you think you are talking to Jesus Christ?
You're not good enough. Yeah.
Exactly. My dad also was able to, talk to angels and work with spirit guides. And so he was my first teacher. But Jesus came in. My first like knowing experience was when I was 5 years old. He's the one who told me that I was going to be moving to California and I would be working in television.
Wow.
Yeah. And so
Good
then
story.
he's really been, it's more like a brother, sometimes parent figure, where some of the things that I haven't wanted to, that stubbornness you talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. I pray to him for that too.
Yeah. He's like, okay, he like gives me like that you need to do it. And there's like a certain tone that he gets where I'm like, oh, and I'm like, okay, fine, I will. And that's like the humaning part. You're like, oh, and then it's for your highest good, but you're like, now, seriously?
Yeah.
So
Right.
so yeah, but he's he's saying I don't want to out you, but he's very present with you, and he has more messages to share with you. So let yourself receive them.
Okay. All right.
Fine, I'll receive them.
Yeah, my things about Jesus are so funny too. And I've been, it was just Christianity was just so intense when I first started. I was afraid to even use God. I wouldn't even say God when I was doing my horoscopes because people were just so triggered from past life stuff. But I remember the first time he came to me, he just like showed up to me. He's like, I don't think you get it. Like it was like that was the first thing he said to me. I don't think you get it. And the way he said it, and then as soon as he tapped me, I just broke down and crying. So he did, like the first time he came to me, he like released my pain around him. And it was in a mall in Sherman Oaks. So I was just like crying like on a lunch break on reality TV behind sunglasses, which is normal in LA. You could eat in the mall and you have me in your sunglasses. That's completely fine. But yeah, it was pretty like, and I was like, this is ironic and funny, who will believe me? So it's funny.
When you just said that and he tapped you on, like, that's the energy I'm talking about, where he's like okay,
it's just
time.
A tap. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
and
just
you're
a
just
tap.
like, oh yeah, I'm being called out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And working with him, like, so he came in out since we're on a Jesus talk, I guess that's part of where it's supposed to go. Like he was coming in, he was sending people to tell me stories about how he came to them. So like in 1 week, I had 3 stories about how they come to him. And they were people, practitioners like you, who were telling me that he would come in and tell a joke about the client. He'd make fun of the client, like as a joke, like, oh, she's got some fucking problem. Like he would make jokes like that. And it was like, what? Jesus is like making fun of the client? Like, this is like ridiculous. And so then like after those 3 experiences, he popped in when I was in the shower. So I was in the shower and he started feeding me this sitcom about God. And I was laughing so hard. I was bent over. I couldn't even stand up in the shower. I could barely breathe. And I was convinced it was him because it was hilarious. It was just beyond hilarious and brilliant. I mean, you're in TV. It's like to have a script just come to you brilliantly, and it's also just like, who are you going to tell you? Jesus came to you in the shower. You know what I mean? He gave you a sitcom. Right.
I'll be like, what did he say?
It's meant to come out. I think this is his way of starting the promotion for the series.
For sure. Yeah,
he's starting to drop now. He's like,
we need the real deal here.
Yeah, totally.
Real deal.
Well, I've had a couple of moments where I was brought to the heavenly realm through meditations and things, special guidance. And every time I go up there, they're all laughing. It's all laughter. It is all in the angelic realm. It's like, I got the impression that everyone's trying to make God laugh. Like it's like a contest, like to try to make God laugh. And so it's very Rat Pack kind of feeling, the angels, very friendly and warm in a way that you wouldn't expect.
It's what I felt. One of my first energy teachers out here that I trained with through my 20s and early 30s, she would often talk about humor, that you really know when you're in the healing point and the transformation, when you found the humor. And it's so true, because then it's, I think, then you're like really in the surrendering too. And you found the humor of it, because again, in these realities that we're creating, it's all experiences here. And it's just one version of a TV show or movie that you're watching again and again. So what are you
Right.
creating? Have you found the humor of it? And are you
Right.
letting yourself to shift to the next? So yeah, definitely. And the way you describe Jesus, that's how it's very similar to how I experience him too.
He's cool as shit.
Oh yeah, he's the
He's
one who,
very
by the
cool.
way, who when I had that PTS dissociation, my higher self came in, but then I was frozen. He's the one that actually energetically moved me to like
Yes.
move. And then my grandparents came in to assist on the sides to help. What can happen is if you feel like you're having trouble grounding, you can ask your guys, but your ancestors for high school to come in, and basically energetically you put your arms around them and
Mm.
they hold you up until you can hold yourself up. And
Oh, interesting.
it's really amazing because obviously then you're really connected to like light. I
Yeah.
mean, when they
Yeah.
separated from me, I was like, wait, I know you're so close, but wait, I
Yeah.
got
You
used
could
to
feel
this.
it. The difference. Yeah.
I'm on my own again. I know
Yeah.
you're
It's
here, but seriously.
like walking on thin ice, or you're just
Yeah.
sort of like your little kind of little shaky legs kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you like
Feeling.
drafting off their their you could feel their divine source energy close to you. And so it was that co-regulation of the divine force energy, even though they are close by you, it was a
Yeah.
whole different experience. And then it was well, this is what you're here to do as an energy alchemist and empowered creator, is to learn how to ground and align and shift to where we are. You're learning it in the physical. And I was like,
Right.
oh, okay. You say that conceptually, but seriously?
Right. But I've seen proof. I mean, as of late, like there's real evidence unfolding. That's been probably the biggest delight of this year. Of like, oh, thank God I was right. You know what I mean? Like, not about being right or wrong with my ego, but the whole time, like, God, I hope I'm right. Look,
Do you
because I
ever
was just
how do
like
you deal with
faithful.
that? Like, do you get nervous or how are you with that?
I'm now 100% confident in my ability. I always was, but because of my trauma in past lives, there was reason to be suspicious, regardless. So I would have a healthy skepticism that always slowed me down and kept me from going forward, or really trying my best or putting my whole self into it. Because I started PTSD, like past life PTSD, from all being there and then losing it, being there and then losing it, being there and then losing it, to the point of where I would be sabotaging not being
Mhm.
there because I
Mhm.
didn't want to feel losing it.
Mhm.
Right. Like, so I would, and I caught myself in that loop. But my current return is when I finally faced the shadow. It's so funny. It's just the experience of realizing it's just all bullshit. And you're like, oh, it's just all been a game I played on myself the whole time. Oh,
Mhm.
Jesus. Like you realize that you're like, oh, it was me. I was the problem the whole time. I was just in there doing this to me.
Like Taylor Swift would say, "It's me, I'm the problem."
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Grandmaster Sagittarius there.
Oh, I love that you know that. So
Yeah.
wait, when did you get into astrology? How did
When
you
I
get
was
into that?
19, I had a girlfriend who read me and broke up with me, and I was pissed. She was like, I'm going to give you a reading, but you're not the right guy for me. And I was like, this is bullshit. She was a Scorpio. She had no problems drawing the line. And so I was like, I was a filmmaker. I was in film school at Columbia in Chicago, little school in Chicago, little niche school. And I thought, whether this is true or not, it's a good framework for character development. So I started pursuing it out of filmmaking interests, thinking I could flush out characters. I remember in college, my screenwriting producer, screenwriting teacher was like, you're a lousy screenwriter, but your characters are incredible. I was like, thanks, man. It's like, they're just so rich. I don't, so it's funny. But anyways, long story short, I started reading people on sets, and on shows, and, I just realized, wow, I have a gift for this,
And then what was how did you take that courage step? What was that moment for you?
Well, I think the real courage step was making money from astrology versus TV. Because after, I told you that moment where I jumped off and we did internet and rode that, I got back on the reality TV wagon again and was climbing very high. But at that time was starting to see what you were saying about reality TV. It's like, I'm making calls as a producer, wanting people to talk about how they almost died as a burn victim. Will they share their story? They break down crying on the phone with me, talking about their burns and everything they've gone through and their steps and procedures, and then calling them back and saying, sorry, it wasn't enough for the network. we're not going to use you. So it's just like, fuck. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, this is morally wrong. I can't do this to people, and not honor. At first I thought I was honoring their story. And then when they get rejected and stuff so coldly. So it was that stuff that made me go, no, I just got to just jump. And I remember it almost, the first 3 or 4 months, I'd like come down to, can't pay rent. And then, but the universe would bring in donations. I remember one woman gave me $10,000 because she believed in my work. And she totally kept, pulled the plane back up. So it was definitely my destiny, so yeah. Thanks for interviewing me. I appreciate it. My Leo rising.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate
totally
that.
Fine. Well, people are curious. I mean, I don't really inject myself into the story, so I think it's really healthy.
I think also I have one other thing I want to talk to you about, because you mentioned it when you were talking about Colorado. So I'm also really interested in astrocartography.
Okay.
And because when I moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, it was so different. And then I've definitely noticed the vibrational difference when I go home here. And I have gotten I did do an astrocartography session with someone, but it's so interesting that you said that about Colorado, because Colorado is a place that I feel good in.
Oh, yeah. We should look at your chart. Take a look at your chart and see what lines are there. It's my Pluto line. So I'm completely safe in Colorado. I just feel completely safe. Now I'm bored because I'm safe, because I'm a risk taker, so I have a hard time sitting still in this, in the calm, but I'm now starting to just see myself as needing many parts of the country or many parts of the world. So I'm feeling a global, like the world is my home now, and
me too, by the way.
with different spots being my favorites or whatever. Yeah. It's interesting.
Interesting.
Very interesting, Henry. Well, we could talk forever. We've gone a little over, but it's been so worth it. I want to just remind us where your website is, where they can work with you. We've flashed up a lot of great things here.
Thank you. So it's inspiringyou.co. You can find, that's my website. And then I also have a Patreon where there is live classes, replays. Also, you get access to all the information from the podcast there. It's like kind of like become the free resource for newsletter. And that's the Inspiring You show on Patreon. It's becoming one of I will also admit, I was a little resistant to join the Patreon. And it was Jesus who was like, okay, just try it out. And now I love it. It's becoming one of my favorite platforms, to be honest.
It's a pretty good, it seems like a great platform. I ended up building an astrology software platform. So I'm married to where I'm happily married, but I think it's great. And it's great too, because there's something about being behind a paywall that is more sacred. I'm sorry, but it is. Everyone there feels more privileged. Everyone there is more respectful. That once you establish that sacredness of like, well, are you willing to give back? Then you're in this new relationship with teacher client. So
what I also like about it from just a producer standpoint, from organizational aspects, you can organize your classes. Like I did a 29 days of mindfulness meditation, and there's a collections folder where you can find it easily. And I just love that. I love that you can organize it. Like I love my podcast, but you can't organize it like I can on Patreon. And so I really appreciate that level of evolving in technology.
Oh, I do too. And I love that we can, power to us. It's time for the people who have fled Hollywood to create a new, higher vibrational, infotainment, I think. So I'm your brother in that sense.
Amen to that. I'm with you. I can't wait for your sitcom to come out.
Oh, thank you. You'll love it.
Obviously, you have character development already that you've been working on from years ago. And now you have the script coming through.
Oh yeah, no, it's hilarious. It's actually, I mean, maybe I'm sure Jesus wants me to be pitching it. Like, actually, what's funny is here's the weird thing. He's been coming to me lately, a couple of times, and he's about this particular show, saying it's time to do it. I'm like, oh, we're gonna do that? Like, okay, but it's basically a sitcom about God, called Me Damn It, which is what God says when he cusses. So it's basically understanding God. Yeah, and Jesus is really funny in it, but it's great because it gives you the ability to have characters in heaven.
Oh, I love that. Well, I look forward to seeing it in the physical world.
Thank you. Well, I think he wanted us to create some sort of a global intention here.
Definitely.
Yeah, I know how he works.
He said like 10 times, like, talk to him about it. I'm like, oh, I don't think I want to. Fine.
He comes in, he's like, talk to him about it.
I was like, oh no.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
I'll tell you a funny Jesus story as we wrap up. Is like, I prayed to him at some point. Like, I've had many waves of back and forth and back and forth. So I prayed to him and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to bring you back in my life. Please show me the way. And I went on my walk around the lake, and this has never happened before. In that walk, I walk around the lake every day for like 2 years. And these two guys walk up to me and go, have you accepted the Lord Jesus Christ into your life? I was like, ah! I was like, stop it. You're killing me.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And he was like, and he pops in like a genie, like a little, ah. I was like, just fucking with you. It's really funny. So it's so funny.
That.
Yeah, little stories like that. All right, well, thank
Amazing.
you so much. Stay backstage so we can gab for a minute.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, everyone. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope our audience is just wonderful. I hope a lot of people are called to your work. You obviously, thank you for giving us a sample today. A lot of people said they felt cleared. It was really magical.
Good.
So we look forward to having, people say we had to come on and just talk Jesus next time. So maybe we'll do that.
I love it. Much
that'd be
love,
great.
everyone.
Thanks, Henry. Bye-bye. Ciao for now. All righty. That went really nicely. And that energy clearing, I was having a hard time, actually. Like, I was feeling all happy. I'm like, why did I agree to do this on camera? But it just happened. I think it was, again, Jesus's idea, which is great. We love Henry. All right. So wrapping up the show here, a couple of things. Actually, I'm going to do something special that I actually wanted to talk about with y'all. And it's going to be a little bit of a screen share here. Okay. If you guys will be with me here. I think I can do it correctly. Oh, okay. Maybe not. Might have to wait. Allow. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the music, brother. It's not, is it Chrome? All right. So Chrome. Here we go. Oh, it's taking me down this memory lane here. Okay. Gotcha. Here we go, folks. Hang on. Thanks for your patience. Oh, it's not going to happen tonight. Never mind. Thank you very much, Adam, for that. But I'm using a new browser and my computer's like, are you really going to allow this? So we're not going to go on today, but I want to show you the new SeriousStory.com. I'm just going to think that that's Jesus intervening right now and saying, don't show it yet. But come to SeriousStory.com. We now have on our main pages free now to the public. We're going to start having super Namaste Todays happening. And what I mean by that is in the future, you might want to register. You can register with SeriousJoy.com if you don't subscribe. And in the future, if you register, we'll have your date of birth information, and you'll see below the window pertinent information that ties to your chart. And that's going to be free if you watch on SeriousJoy.com, just letting you know. So register. Don't forget, we also have the 40 days of self-love and ascension going live on July 22nd, where if you carry an intention for 40 straight days in your heart, you will navigate to a higher place and manifest your heart's desires. Now, don't trust me. Try it. Try it for yourself and see for yourself. We have testimonials going back 4 or 5 years of people completely changing their life from participating in the 40 days of self-love and ascension at SeriousJoy.com. All right. Let's see here. A little scattered because I lost my page. Here we go. The next thing I want to bring up is leading out loud. Oh my God. If you guys want to have fun on Monday nights after having fun with us on Friday nights, then try leading out loud. We're doing a near-death experience episode on Monday. We'll be talking about near-death experiences. And ultimately, are we showing it now? Okay, it went back there. That's funny. Interesting. So leading out loud goes live, if you don't know, at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, starring Tarot Master Chris Rack, Psychic Medium Scott Cruz, Devin Doerr, who's an angel reader, and myself. And we'll be talking about near-death experiences and what that really means and using our psychic abilities on that. Back to SeriousJoy.com. Now, if you don't know, we do have weekly town hall TV shows. That's what we're doing now, town hall TV shows, where we actually let our community into the backstage where you can be backstage and chatting. This week, we're going to have, last week we had Keeping It Surreal with Kristen Ryder. That is now available for viewing on the site. Just click on the live theater to get into her show. She did a talk show where she brings in people and talks about the surreal parts of life. She talked about the power of healing in water last week. This week, we will have Self-Study Hall with Robbie Hunt. And Robbie this week is going to be talking about secrets of the natal moon and what the natal moon can tell you in your chart. So if you are looking to understand your moon placement and why you have certain weird feelings about certain things, you can come on down and watch this awesome instructive show. This is our monthly show that teaches astrology and the art of astrology. And Robbie Hunt is a master and a spiritual minister. She's a metaphysical minister. So she's got an interesting assembly of Jesus, metaphysics, and astrology. You know, I believe that the Star of Bethlehem was actually Venus, Jupiter, and the star Sirius conjunct, for instance. All right, so check her out at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on SiriusJoy.com. And sharing is caring. We're so grateful for you. The best thing you can do for us is just to share us with your friends and family, to let them know. Remember, your horoscopes come out on Tuesday. If you can share a horoscope with them on their sign, maybe it will help them shift and we'll all be in a better place, right? You can visit us on our Facebook group, SeriousJoy.club. We do allow people to share their spiritual businesses with others on that club, and that is where I post all my personal pictures. I'll be traveling this week and posting a lot of pictures of my travels. If you want to follow us on social media, come to seriousjoy.social. That's where our entire link tree is. And if you'd rather listen instead of watch, which many people do, we're on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. I want to say special thanks to our producer, Diane DeStefano, our casting coordinator, Nita, our director, Adam Turner, our teaching and faculty at SeriousJoy.com, Robbie Hunt, Kristen Ryder, Devin Dewar, Joe Zammett, Gwen English, Daiki Okamoto, and Heather Exposito. And special thanks to our super friends who are always in the chat every week. We love you. My soul brother, Daryl Blankenship, Neptune Girl, Jamar, Christine Kelly, Sydney, Iggy, Need2, I Saw You Tonight, Lori Ship, Nikki Anderson, Libra and Lauren, Margot Malia, Princess Coffee Bean, and of course, Sydney, Erica with a K. I hope I said everyone there. And friends, that's all we have for tonight and for this week. Like I said, I'll be traveling over this week, so it's going to be sort of exciting. Just remember that with those emotional tidal waves come in, your job is to emotionally take care of yourself and divorce for the drama. Until next week.